Norma Sanchez. She is excused. Do I hear a motion to excuse?
Make a motion to excuse.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Need a second.
I did.
Okay, everyone's in favor, Peggy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start the invocation. Councilman Hicks.
Dear Heavenly Father, is that one on? It's all recorded for you. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for everyone that has gathered here today. Just make sure our police officers and firefighters, our first responders, our service members stay safe and their families stay safe. Just make it to where we all make the right decisions for our citizens as a whole. In these things we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up, we have a presentation to Cerrone Garcia for 5 years with the city of Cibolo. Mr. Reed.
Here first, Mr. Garcia, and then I'm going to read a letter of appreciation for your 5 years of service here. And so, Mayor and Council, I say this each time. I actually had one of these informally given to another member of the police department. There's a lot of things I do in my job. This is one of the things that make me very happy to do because it's great to recognize our employees. So let me begin. Dear Cerrone Garcia, congratulations. On behalf of everyone at the City of Cibolo, I want to congratulate you on the 5th anniversary of your employment. You joined our organization on June 18th, 2018, as a police officer. This year signifies a key milestone in your service, and we would like to celebrate your achievements with you today. We know that growth and success of our departments is dependent on having devoted and capable team members such as you, and we want to recognize the contributions you have made in helping us achieve our goals. You're a valued team member of the police department and the entire organization. You have been instrumental in many ways, including volunteering to participate in several programs within the police department, including FTO, Field Training Officer, Succession Plan, OIC, Officer in Charge, and Less Lethal Instructor. You also stepped up to serve as the department's FTO coordinator. Your desire to serve exemplifies your commitment to the city's core values, particularly professional development and teamwork. To honor your service, we present you with this 5-year service award. People are and always will be our greatest asset. Please know that you are an important member of our team, and your abilities and contributions will be an important part of our continued success. We hope that this award will always remind you of our appreciation for your hard work and dedication. Thank you for everything that you have done over these 5 years of service, and for your ongoing commitment to our success. We look forward to you growing with the city throughout your career. Thank you. Get some photos. Get the chief up here and Ryan.
One with the family? Your family?
All right, congratulations. Okay, next up is the citizens to be heard. This is the only time during the city council meeting that a citizen can address the city council. It is the opportunity for visitors and guests to address the city council on any issue, to include agenda items. All visitors wishing to speak must fill out the sign-in roster prior to the start of the meeting. The city council may not debate any non-agenda issue, nor may any action be taken on any non-agenda issue at this time. However, the city council may present any factual response to items brought up by citizens. Attorney General Opinion JC 0169. Limit of 3 minutes each. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body. Remarks may also be addressed to any individual council member, so long as the remarks are about matters of local public concern and not disruptive to the meeting or threatening to the member or any attendee. Any person violating this policy may be requested to leave the meeting, but no person may be requested to leave or forced to leave the meeting because of the viewpoint expressed. This meeting is live streamed. If anyone would like to make comments on any matter regarding the city of Cibolo or an agenda item and have this item read at the meeting, please email psimics@cibolotx.gov and vchapman@cibolotx.gov or telephone 210-566-6111 before 5 p.m. the date of the meeting. All right, first up is Marlene Carmen. Did I say that right? Carmine? Okay.
Am I going to be picked up or do I need a microphone closer? Marlene Carmine, 1925 FM 1103, Cibolo, Texas. I, Marlene Carmine, have lived in my home all but 1 year of my life. My great-grandparents built the home I live in and farmed the land, including the land that is to be considered for a roadway. Over the last 7 years, Stanley Rosenthal, Paul Carmine, and I have spoken to Mr. Fogel about the property located in the area of the future Buffalo Crossing and Knights Crossing. Mr. Fogel currently has an agreement attached to this roadway with the city of Cibolo. Each time we've had a discussion with Mr. Fogel, it was mentioned that his development needed to acquire a 43-foot wide piece of property from us comprising of just under 2 acres for an 86-foot road being built from 1103 to Weidner Road. Each time we met, the property was discussed and negotiated. However, through 6 of the 7 years, Mr. Fogel did not want to purchase the 43-foot right-of-way needed for the road, but in fact wanted it to be given over to him to, quote, benefit the city and our family, end quote. The only exception was if he purchased the remainder of the non-floodplain property for a price well below market value and leaving the family with only the floodplain. In 2018, he did purchase approximately 3 acres from this property that he will be able to use as a rec center and streets and homes. At that time, he was given the opportunity to purchase the right-of-way needed for less than $50,000. He stated we could give it to him since it was benefiting us. Through various meetings through the first 6 years of meeting, he even threatened eminent domain to attain the property. On September 28th of 2022, we met in person one last time and he reluctantly agreed to pay an appraised value for the approximate 1.7 acres he needed for the right-of-way. On October 12th, 2022, I received a voicemail from Miriam, his secretary, stating that I needed to sign a plat immediately before 4:30 p.m. that day involving this property, giving Mr. Fogel access to my property to build the roadway. Due to working with patients, I could not take the call. She called several more times and eventually emailed me a form that appeared to be, quote, from the city of Cibolo. Due to no agreement on actual price being discussed, I did not sign such an agreement. I later found that this plat was up for discussion at City Council that evening and was tabled due to me not signing it. Trying to be accommodating and seeing he was needing this very quickly, I spoke to a land appraiser that worked in the San Antonio and surrounding area. In explaining the situation to him, he stated a recommendation of asking what I've been offered per acre just a year before. I contacted a real estate attorney and a contract was written and sent to Mr. Fogel on November 11th, 2022. On November 14th, he responded to the attorney that he would not pay the asking price due to the road costing an exceptional amount of money to build and half the road would benefit my property. At no point did he send a counteroffer, and so the price he wanted to pay was still zero for almost 2 acres of my property. It's my belief that no matter what the offer, he would refuse. I've tried to be accommodating and always agreed to meet Mr. Fogel when he wanted to discuss the property. I did not know that negotiations had ended until he mentioned my name in the letter to the city dated April 21st, 2023, that we could not agree with the land acquisition. In the plat he presented for the city to approve, he has a contractual obligation to me for a roadway access to Knight's Crossing. Otherwise, it would deem my property landlocked since he purchased the original right-of-way from our family in 2018. In the amendment to the original agreement with the city, the agreement mentions that I, or a future developer, would be responsible to build the remainder of the 86-foot roadway that would be on my property. Since I have no plans to sell this property, this would cause a bottleneck in traffic for many years in the area that would be reduced to 56 feet if this is approved. This is not my agreement with the city, and I feel it should not become my responsibility for growth he created. I've also had to deal with numerous issues surrounding this current development, including his employees altering my fence, allowing all of our cows escaping the property. This is very dangerous for cows and the citizens, and a huge inconvenience for us. Very recently, contractors came onto the property to access the sewer easement without notification and then left their trash behind as well. Thank you, Marlene Carmine.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cunningham. Next up is, I think is it Colby or Corby Albright? Yeah, could you just wait for 3 minutes if you don't mind? Supposedly the internet dropped here, so we needed to reestablish our connection. So just, yeah, come have a seat right here in the front row, and then we'll have you come up as soon as Peggy confirms that we're back online. Unfortunately, these microphones are they're just absorbing the they're not being they're just going straight to the feed over the internet. They're not amplified here for us tonight, unfortunately. So apologize for the inconsistency here as this is our first meeting here at the Noble Group, so we'll get these kinks worked out by the next meeting.
You can always pull a chair up. Sit right next to us.
The recording after the meeting is over, whether that's on the city website or on the YouTube channel, hopefully both, but at least one of those two should be an option to watch later. Okay, so we will proceed. Is it Corby or Colby?
Colby,
Colby, come on up, Colby.
just like the cheese.
All right. Welcome, Colby. All right, so tell me, what is Diamond Legacy?
So Diamond Legacy is a select softball team.
Okay.
We're trying to bring select softball here to the city of Cibolo. So first off, I'd like to thank the city for their willingness to let us speak this evening. Again, my name is Colby Albright. I'm a coach for the Diamond Legacy organization. I'm joined by our head coach, Brad Haynes, a few of the girls from the Diamond Legacy organization, along with some of the parents as well. I, along with a couple of the people from the organization, if that's okay with you, would like to address you all this evening. So with the time constraints that we have, I'll just get straight to the point. Simply put, our kids need a softball home. As I understand it, there's been a call for some time now to bring winning softball to the city of Cibolo. So why not start with us is my question for you all, basically. When you go to tournaments and you look at the participation list, you see Seguin, you see New Braunfels, you see Shirts, and you see San Antonio, but Cibolo is nowhere to be found on that list. We would like to build a team to the point to where girls from these surrounding areas would like to come here to play winning select softball. Now, I understand to some this may not be as important as economic development. It might not be as important as city hall renovations, but to us right now, this is the single most important thing that we have going on. We unfortunately couldn't get the entire team here. We had 4 that showed up. We have some that are in Oklahoma for softball camps and some that just couldn't show up for the meeting because of other reasons. But we have 11 people here, not including myself, that want to demonstrate to this city council how important softball is, how important the sport is to their families and how much of a staple this sport is to our families and the kids that play it. So what we're asking this city council to do is to simply allot us a field. That's it, just the field, to continue to develop our girls to be able to play softball. Got a little visitor that would like to speak to you as well.
Come on up. State your name into the microphone, please. It's right there with the orange on it. There you go. What's your name?
Kinsley.
Kinsley, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming out.
Hello, my name is Kinsley Albright. I'm 11 years old, and I'll be playing with Diamond Legacy this season. I wanted to speak today and let you know how important these fields are to my teammates and me. We are coming off of a season where we didn't have stability with fields. We practiced at softball fields, rocky football practice fields, and soccer fields. We had to constantly adjust the way we practiced because the fields were not consistent, and that showed at times during some tournaments. This is our single biggest need this season in order to be consistent with practices and to build a winning team. We are hoping that you will help our team reach the next level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kinsey. Great job. Okay, so Colby, if you want to come back up to the, okay, no, go ahead.
I'm the head coach. I just wanted to echo what my assistant coach Kobe said, and these girls, we are looking for a field. I mean, these girls they enjoy the game, and it has been difficult to find fields. It would be, I think, really cool. I have my oldest daughter here who also played select softball, and we had to drive all over the countryside for different organizations and stuff. I mean, it would be really nice to have something home. So I just wanted to echo, I am the head coach. This organization is really a top-tier organization, and I think bringing this into Cibolo will make the citizens excited, and it'll help us to develop these girls as well. So I just wanted to thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. And so Colby, so the way that our rules work when we're talking about an item that's not on our agenda, we're not allowed to debate the item because it's not on our agenda for tonight. However, we can give you like a factual response. And so our typical process for sports teams is to rent the field and to reserve the field. And a lot of our fields are managed through the YMCA. I don't know exactly what percentage, but I think it's the majority of them. And if you could just tell me what your experience has been like when contacting, I'm assuming you contacted the YMCA. If not, if you could just kind of tell me what your experience has been like so far, and then we'll have to wrap it up.
Well, we haven't reached out to the YMCA specifically. We've reached out to 3 separate people around the area to no response. And from what I'm kind of gathering is that the fields at the Cibolo Sports Complex are not only, and maybe I'm misunderstanding here, but from what I understand is they're not necessarily renting out to people unless they're members of the YMCA.
Okay, is that their policy?
I'm not sure exactly what their policy is. That's kind of what I'm gathering just from talking to other folks that have tried. I know that the taxpayers own the ballparks there at the City of Cibolo Sports Complex. And then if the taxpayers actually own the sports complex, but then I have to go and get a membership at the Y, then, I mean, to me, it's just a lot of stuff just for a 12U team full of 11-year-old girls that play softball.
Sure. Okay, well, I can't speak specifically to the YMCA's policy, but the ball fields on the other side of 78, you know, if you take Main Street, you know, right here, right past City Hall, and you go on the other side of 78, there are ball fields right there. We have the Miracle Field, which is for special needs children, and then we also, so all the fields over there are softball fields.
Right.
And so those were built by the City of Cibolo, by the taxpayers, and then we entered into a contract with the YMCA. It's at least, I think it's a 20-year contract or something like that. So the YMCA is in charge of maintaining the fields and for renting them out. And so that would be a good place to start. Councilman Hicks, do you have any comments here?
Well, we maintain the fields. They don't maintain them. The citizens pay for our people to go out there and maintain them. And I do have on the agenda tonight for discussion of softball fields. It's one of my items. I wouldn't suggest y'all stay around because it could be late before you get to it because it's the very last one on the agenda. But,
Coach Brad has to.
but, no, there is, there's some concerns there that we've got fields over there that the citizens of Cibolo are paying for. Granted, I know we got a contract with the YMCA, but I don't understand why, if we've got an open field, why we can't let somebody utilize it. Because we do maintain it, we do own it, we do maintain it. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is something that we've been working on for other ball teams as well. So this is a recurring theme that we've been working to help folks with. So we don't have an answer yet. You know, we are going to discuss it later. But if you could please give your contact information to our city secretary, Peggy Simmons.
Okay, I wrote my number down on the sign-in sheet as well.
I see it. Okay. All right.
So
Okay.
that's my direct line, so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Colby. I appreciate your time
All right,
tonight.
thank y'all for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is James Hester. Welcome, James.
How are y'all?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. James Hester. I live on 284 Tully Road. We have land out there that's been in the family for 50-plus years. My son is in the process of building a house. We've been trying to get the permits for the place since February. It has been roadblock after roadblock, no response to emails, to calls. We do get responses. They lead to nowhere. We had a meeting not too long ago at the annex place down the road here. Didn't get anything out of that except come here. We're trying to get our place back into ag, and we're asking to get it rezoned because it's land. We have a little over 100 acres there. We have cattle on it. We have hay that we bale off of it. At some point in time, it was changed over to SF1, then it was changed to SF2, but there's no documentation that has been presented where it's changed to SF2. It's just, somebody said that. Nothing's been brought to the table with that. Anyways, trying to get it out of that. We're trying to get it back into ag. We're not planning on selling the place anytime soon. Son's building a house out there. It's staying in the family. We're not deeding anything over. Everything is like it is now. It's, I live out there. My mom lives out there. Son wants to live out there. So we're trying to keep everybody close family. Want to see what your thoughts are with that, and if y'all can give it consideration to zoning this back to ag. There's other options. We're not looking to do that at this point, but we'd rather do the rezoning than have to go down these other avenues. Is there anything that I need to do for the rezoning? Do I just ask for it?
Yeah,
What do I have to
we have a planning department, and what you would do is would contact the planning department and then ask to be rezoned, and it would go in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we have a board that meets once a month, and they review all the rezoning applications that are submitted. And so I'm assuming right now you have an ag exemption from property taxes, right?
Correct.
And so you already got that covered financially, right? And so what would be the benefit of just being zoned ag? That's just the way you want it, or there's no financial
was
impact,
never-
right?
So we were annexed, and we were opposed to that from the beginning. I came to the meetings for that. I was basically told by the city attorney at that point that it was just a waste of my time and everybody else's. It was gonna happen anyways.
And this happened, I'm assuming 5 to 10 years ago at least?
Yes.
Okay.
It'd been several years back. But at that time, somehow they changed us out of our ag exemption or ag zoning into SF1. None of that was ever agreed to. I don't understand the politics of it. I don't get into that. But we were changed. I want to get it back into our ag exemption or ag zoning
Right.
where we have control of our property again.
Yeah. Because the way that you're zoned wouldn't necessarily affect your ag exemption. The ag
No, I
exemption
get
is done
that.
with the county.
But it does affect my son building his house.
Gotcha, okay.
Because right now, we have SF2 zoning on it. That means that he's out in the middle of a field wanting to build a house, and we have to abide by rules that y'all have set forth for that.
Right.
I'm not building in a subdivision. We don't have a HOA. There's none of that. The other part of it is where he's trying to build his house, y'all are wanting to plat. Well, that's considerable amount of money for me to do that. Like tens of thousands of dollars. We already own the property. The drainage is the same. Nothing's changing with that. We're not changing the dynamic of the land. My son's just building a house out there. So we can get it rezoned, get into the ag portion of it. We don't have to do the SF1, SF2, all the subdivision rules.
Sure. Okay, makes sense. So if you could please get with our city manager, Mr. Wayne Reed, and give him your information, and then he can get you in touch with our planning department. And once you talk with the planning department, then they can tell you what steps you need to take in order to get in front of the planning and zoning board, and then request your zoning change.
All right.
Okay.
It'll go to them and then come back to us.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, after it gets approved by planning and zoning, then we'll ultimately confirm it here at city council.
And we do have someone in the audience who just did that on Holly, went back to ag.
He's on Holly
May
Road
or
too.
may not be wearing yellow and all that. We want to speak with them about the process, but, it has been on Holly recently.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank y'all for your time. Do I speak with him now or wait after?
Yeah, if you could just, he'll give his contact information. He's right over there with the yellow Post-it note. Oh, no, so go on over.
thank
You're
you.
good. Thank you. Thank you, James. All right, next up is Wyatt. Is it Aggie? Agee, sorry. Welcome, Wyatt.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, Council, my name is Wyatt Agee. I am with the city of Selma, but I'm not here to talk about how great we are. First of all, I want to start by thanking Mr. Reed, staff, for their hospitality when we came by back in January, and for always being a pleasure to work with. And tonight, I'm actually here as a member of the Chamber Leadership Corps to see how y'all operate as opposed to how Selma operates, see what the differences are. So,
They're 5-minute meetings.
yeah, well, I mean, yes, sir, yeah. So, just want to thank you for your time and thank you for what you do. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much, Wyatt. Appreciate it. Thanks, Wyatt. Next up is Kara Latimer. Okay, you are signed up here. All right, thank you.
Good evening, council. I was not prepared for this, but after Councilwoman Cunningham's letter from, thank you, Carmine. Ms. Carmine, I would like to testify to some knowledge that I have. As a Planning and Zoning Commissioner, when a plat for Israel Fogel's subdivision came before the Planning and Zoning Commission, I became aware that there was a road platted on land that was not the developer's. I brought this to the attention of Councilwoman Cunningham and asked her to please tell the landowner. I then approached staff, including our city engineer, and stated that that property was not property of the developer, but was in fact private property and a farm. To which I was told, no, it wasn't, and I said, get out the documents, and they did. To which our city attorney then said, well, that can be done. And I said, if you look at the notation in the recordation of this plat, it would vacate the easement on the Carmine property, leaving Cibolo with no recourse except eminent domain. So I just want you to know that Mary Stewart, who was a professional engineer on that plat, and our professional engineer had a conversation, and it wasn't until that very evening, 15 minutes prior to that plat going in front of your Planning and Zoning Commission, did we actually have confirmation of an email canceling that plat. I think that's important to know. I think that's something that the Carmines have endured, and it should be out in the open for people to see how the Carmines have been treated. Now, if you ate a chicken nugget today, please thank a farmer. If you ate a salad today, please thank a farmer. In the state of Texas, farmers are respected and revered. We are the backbone of our nation and what gets on your table. That is so important to Texas that in the Constitution, it said that if I am a 1D1 sanctioned landowner, that means I am a producer of agriculture in this community, that I have a constitutional right to divide my land up to 4 times within 3 degrees of relation. And I'll state that the way it says in the Constitution, within 3 degrees of consanguinity or 3 degrees of affinity. And I have that right up until the moment I am put into a city. Think about that. Think about what Mr. Hester just told you. Think about what the individual that's coming before you had to say. What they are doing is they are taking care of their families. They are taking care of our nation. They are putting food on your tables. I was very apologetic, and I played a negative role in 1332 coming through our legislation and passing, allowing a conditional use permit in SF1 and SF2 because I was told, and I believed the bureaucracy, exactly how that it would never be used for subdivided land. As a UDC chair, as a UDC member, I cannot speak for all of the UDC, but we unanimously passed this to protect legacy landowners, to care for their siblings, their elderly parents, or to be cared for by their children if they were the elderly farmer. So we have a problem. So what I would like to suggest and invite and encourage you to explore is to rezone these folks ag and give them their constitutional right to divide that land amongst their relations so that they can continue to farm that land in Cibolo, so that we can have farm to table in Cibolo. I plan to have honey, lambs. They will have steak, ribeye, I hope. I love ribeye, that's my favorite. But please consider allowing us to go back into ag and to allow us to exercise our constitutional right. You wouldn't have to write law. All you'd have to do is strike law from your books and allow us to have our constitutional right. And for that, and for your time tonight, I thank you very much.
Mayor, can I just ask one
Sure.
question? Ms. Latimer, you mentioned that there was this thing with the plat. Can you reduce that to an email with actual names and get that to the entire council, please? I think it's an important piece of information that we all need to know.
Yes,
You
I
can get
will.
it to Peggy and Peggy will.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Kara. Next up is Gary Rose. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I knew when I was signing up, I saw Kara in front of me, I knew that was a mistake, but anyway. Gary Rose, 224 Green Valley Loop, Cibolo. As many of you are aware, a few of us in Cibolo that are Green Valley SUD water users were not happy with the new headquarters and operation facility being built in Marion. Not because the new facility was not needed, but because it was going to be such an extravagant facility. That facility is now open, and the estimated $16.5 million price tag ended up at over $23 million. Be sure when you get to the get your open house invitation to the new facility that you go and see what unbridled spending can get the ratepayers. We were also not happy with the current board and the general manager's non-transparency and lack of working with other local governments on water and wastewater issues. You are all aware that that issue as Green Valley SUD versus Cibolo is still ongoing lawsuit and on your agenda under executive session again later in the meeting. We have worked hard to replace the old guard board over the last 2 years with board members that are more transparent and willing to be open with other local governments such as Cibolo. We now have the board majority with members that are working to be more transparent and working with local governments. 6 of those 7 board members are Cibolo residents and call Cibolo home. I hope you're also working with them now, as this is a two-way street. It was not one with the old board, and that is what's got us into the Green Valley Cibolo lawsuit. At the May 23rd council meeting, you approved without comments a budget amendment to increase funding to increase the legal fees related to the Green Valley SUD CCN litigation by $182,000. I understand this was to cover prior expenses and future expenses. This doesn't sound like Cibolo is anywhere near wanting to close out this lawsuit. For us that are Green Valley SUD water users, the residents of Cibolo and residents of Cibolo, we are funding both lawyers, Cibolo's lawyers and Green Valley's lawyers. Boy, our pockets are getting taken. I don't know all the issues involved in the lawsuit. Hopefully you do. But as you know, we now have a Green Valley willing to work with you, so let's get this lawsuit settled. In closing, I want to thank each and one of you for your service to Cibolo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Next up is Jamie Mathis. Welcome, Jamie.
My name is Jamie Mathis. I've resided in Cibolo for 22-ish years. And because I have only one hand, it takes me a little bit longer. All right, so here we go. First and foremost, I respect every individual on this council, and I respect every city employee that has been a part of this city to help it grow. But I'm going to read to you Galatians 3:12 through 14. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other forgiveness for whatever grievances you have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and all other virtues put upon love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. I read this verse to myself a few days ago. And how I find myself is I'm very disappointed with council, and I have a lot of malice in my heart against council, against things that have been voted on recently, and how they've been voted on in the direction that this city has gone. I'm disappointed because when I moved to Cibolo, I moved here for myself, my wife, my family, our legacy, my church, my family, and my values. And recently, I believe council has taken a lot of directions against that. It is hard for me to follow what this verse says right now. I feel that there's a certain member of the council that's a bully, that harasses, that intimidates, that does everything against an entrepreneur can want to attain in the city of Cibolo. So much to the fact that this same bully has offered to purchase property directly across from HEB, and when denied, now seeks to deny those individual business owners their right to sell as commercial residential. And this council has continued that process. Those houses will be rezoned eventually. Whether you're here or you're not here, they're going to be rezoned. And for this council to deny people that are on their dying beds continuously of rezoning that property to commercial, I find wrong, disingenuous, not fair to those business owners. Much like Kara was talking about, with that property needs to be back to agriculture, I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. Everybody thinks that I am here to simply try to make money. I make no money on any of the businesses that I'm in Old Town Cibolo. Not yet, not a dollar, not a penny. But certain council members think that I make $1 million a month on every business that's in Old Town Cibolo, and that is simply not the fact. I'm trying to help Cibolo grow. I'm trying to help property values grow. I'm trying to help people get more money. But I will not stand idly by anymore. I will not be bullied anymore by any council member for what I'm trying to do for my family, my legacy, and the city of Cibolo and its citizens. I'm not going to stand idly by anymore. I've done it for 7 years. I've been quiet for 7 years. I helped you, sir, get elected. I gave money to your campaign. I'm not going to stand idly by anymore and be bullied. If you guys want to let yourselves be bullied, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I will do what it takes. And here's the thing. If you don't remove yourself, you're going to be removed. With that being said, so that's a recall, that's a lawsuit, that's whatever you want from the city of Cibolo. If you guys want to continue to waste tax dollars, I've had many business owners tell me that they want to sue the city of Cibolo. And I have kept them by and by and by and by for 7 years. And I will continue to keep them by. But you guys are putting me into a corner I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in this corner. DeKetzel, me and you have met individually. We've had great conversations. Katie, you and I have had great conversations. Mark, Randy, TG, we've had decent conversations in meetings. The reality is, it is what it is. The business owners down here can't continuously be attacked without coming back. We're going to come back. That's the reality. You can poke too much. I am here for the city of Cibolo. I don't make any money off of any of the businesses in Cibolo. Believe it or not, I'll show you the financials. Back off. To call us a day after a storm in the city of Cibolo, I'm out. To call us a day after a storm in the city of Cibolo and leave a message for an employee to complain about runoff for parking lots when we've already been researching this for a year? A council member should have called a fellow council member across the street and said, hey, reach out to your business owners, and then you would have gotten the true story. But that didn't take place. A council member complained to the city of Cibolo, and then it got to an employee, then it got to a manager, then it got to me about runoff. The day after, we all know what storms happen. And for a year, I've been researching asphalt. For a year. And I'll send you the quotes and the dates and the times. I'm being attacked, being harassed, and I'm done with it. I respect each and every one of you. All of you. Each and every one of you. But the attacks against the business owners in Old Town Cibolo has to stop. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Mathis.
And Jamie, I know we've talked on other things before. You still have my phone number. I've requested to come to your Old Town Business Alliance meetings for more than 3 years. Never once have been given a date to come out.
We don't have them anymore because they say they don't want to come out because nothing ever gets done.
Okay. Well, if you want to arrange a meeting or if you want to give out my phone number, I just got like 1,000 business cards. I got plenty of them now.
Sure, I would love to.
I'm more than happy to meet with
Absolutely.
whoever wants to meet. This is a lot of communication that things have gotten very hot and riled up. Just don't sign me up for any robocall or anything
No,
like
I'm not going to sign you up for that at all.
Jamie, let me know when that meeting's scheduled. I'll be happy to come too. You know, I've been to a few of them, so. Same with Randy.
Yeah, I've been waiting for my invitation for years.
I'm going to be really honest with you. The Old Town business owners say nothing gets done, so they're tired of coming. So, but I will schedule that with you invited. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. All right, next up is the consent agenda. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting held on May 23rd, 2023. Item B, approval of the April 2023 check register pending final acceptance of the city's financial audit for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. C, approval of the April 2023 revenue and expense report pending final acceptance of the city's financial audit for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. And D, approval of the preliminary plat of Cibolo Creek Center. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to
approve?
remove D for discussion.
Okay. D has been removed.
I move
Do I-
approval of A, B, and C.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. The ayes have it. 6-0, Peggy. And so on D, approval of the preliminary plat for Cibolo Creek Center. Do we want to discuss that item now, Mr. Hicks?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Tell me your concerns with 6D, sir.
My concern is the fact that this is going in the curve right there on 1103 past Steele High School. And it's showing where there's 3 driveways in the curve at an incline, or yes, you go through. I've just got some concerns. Not here to stop the development. I'd like to see the development. I just have got several concerns with. I know this is preliminary, but need to address them before it gets too far down the way. But you know, to have three driveways, and I don't know if those driveways, because I can't tell from the information that they provided us where those driveways are going to be. Whether it's going to be the Bright Road is going to be one of the driveways, whether it's going to have one of the driveways is going to be at Wild Road, and then have another one. In my reading of this, I've just got some concerns with this preliminary plat, and especially page 6 and 7 and page 8 with the Lands End engineers. But not only that, I know that across Wild Road, where they're supposed to have a retention pond, Mr. Andrews, who lives across the street, has complained many a times about how the front of his property is nothing but a swampland. I think you know that, Mayor. You've been out there. And so I've got some concerns with this whole preliminary plat.
Okay.
I mean, we can move this to the next one to where,
Is there a shot clock problem with this one at all? No, our attorney's not here tonight.
Then also my question would be, has TxDOT looked at the entrances?
well, TxDOT approved an entrance, but they've got 3. And so I mean, that's what I read in the report, was TxDOT has approved of the, of an entrance, but you've got, you live right there, but you've got that curve, it goes uphill or you're going downhill, and you're gonna have 3 entrances. So I've got a major concern there.
Yes, this is a preliminary plat, and it went before the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 27th, 24th, May 24th, I'm sorry. And so therefore, we would need to take action. If we waited any longer,
It'll get
it could be
auto-approved, right?
considered automatically approved,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought. All right, so June 24th is our drop dead date, right? 30 days?
Yes,
Okay, so today is the, what'd you say, June 28th?
no, it went May
24th?
24th.
Our next meeting is when? 27. Okay, that's too late. All right, so do you want to do a special meeting to talk about this, Joel, or?
No, I'm not gonna call people in, but I mean, these are concerns. And it should have been brought up by our staff, should have been brought up by our planning and zoning as well, just where those 3, I mean, because that's a substantial curve there. And it's an incline or a decline, however you want to look at it. I just got those concerns. So, I mean, y'all can make a motion to approve it, I'll deny it, and,
Yes,
Mr. Reed?
they'll,
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
So if you're talking about driveways onto TxDOT's right of way, that's a separate driveway permit. Our
Yes.
plat approval is not approved driveways. So I just want to clarify that a
No.
concern about driveway is not a plat item when it comes to a TxDOT right of way.
No, and I understand that, but I completely understand it. I was on planning and zoning for many years, sir. I understand it, but when we get this, and you're looking at this, and then you start reading, and they're talking about 3 driveways, and yes, it's TxDOT driveway. I mean, it's TxDOT road. You've got to, somebody should have raised an eyebrow and said,
And Mr. Hicks, I can't speak to what is in the staff report. What I want council to understand is your approval of the plat is not approved driveways.
I understand that. I just wanted to discuss it. I wanted make everybody else aware that we're about to put a convenience store on that corner, which I'm all for. I'm all about, the businesses, bring them, that's fine. But where they're gonna put it, and then we've got driveways on there, that's a concern for me. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Hicks. Did you have any final comments?
no, just what we said about the timeline that we have for
Yeah,
approval.
thank you. Okay.
It did get reviewed and approved by TxDOT for the driveways.
Sure.
And it
TxDOT did
does
approve
meet,
it?
yes, and it does meet our subdivision regulations, so therefore, staff did not have an option other than to recommend approval.
Thank you very much. All right, do I hear a motion on 6D?
I'll make a motion to approve 6D.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, let's do a roll call on this one, starting with Councilman Hicks.
Nay. Aye.
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 Ayes have it, 5-1. Next up is staff update. Mr. Reed.
Right, Mayor, I will give you an update, and I will also send this out. Recruitment process, I just want to let council know that for the assistant city manager, we've identified qualified candidates, and we'll share a decision on the process next week with council. On the police chief, we've identified applicants for a first round of interviews. We're setting dates for those interviews. I'm looking over at Brian Huggins as I'm nodding my head. And then on the CIP manager, I'm happy to report that we have made an offer. That offer has been accepted by an professional to be our CIP manager, who will start in July. On the RFPs and RFQs, the City Hall HVAC and remodel, the general contractor took possession on June 5th and has initiated interior demolition. There continues to be no interruption to serving our customers per my email that I sent to all of council. We're all spread out but in close proximity. I will work with Mr. Foose to schedule a walkthrough in the near future of the building so that you can see what's going on the interior. So we'll set a date for that when there's enough to be seen that you can see how far they're advancing. The remodel is scheduled to be completed within 6 months. Animal Services Facility Analysis, so following the presentation tonight by Mr. Huggins, he and others will develop an RFQ. I'm looking at him. No, so after your presentation tonight? Yes, we'll work on an RFQ to advance this to find a qualified architectural firm. The RFQ we expect will be issued shortly after this meeting, within the next 30 to 60 days, and we'll return to council as quickly as possible with an award of contract. At your last, or let me see right here, council approved both the CEDC strategic plan and the IH-10 corridor plan on May 9th. Kelsey Jordan Lee, the Economic Development Department, are working with the consultants on the initial steps of both of these projects. More to come in the near future. The public safety facility, since staff's presentation to council on May 9th, Brian Huggins and others have been finalizing the RFQ to pursue the better option to seek qualified architectural firms. The RFQ will be issued in this month, and we will work to return with an award of contract to council no later than September. I also want to update you on the UPRR railroad crossing. Staff held a meeting with TxDOT and UPRR representatives recently to discuss safety improvements at the Country Lane crossing. In that meeting, TxDOT asked, what can we do to help you with Main Street? And so we grabbed onto that opportunity and said, we want to work on both of these with you. We are working on another meeting with Mayor Allen and Mayor Pro Tem Hicks to attend. I was told by the TxDOT representative who oversees railroad crossing improvements that each project will take approximately 2 years. More to come as we seek to define the scope of work for each crossing and then bring to council agreements to officially enter into the agreements with TxDOT to advance the needed safety improvements. Lastly, Town Creek Trail, the city engineer's office is working to finalize a document that we need to submit to TxDOT to provide the funding that they have for us. We're also finalizing the scope of work to have construction drawings to build that trail. So more to come on that one. I'll email you updates on CIP updates, including the mid-block crosswalk on Main Street, Cibolo Valley Drive, which remains on schedule even with all these heavy rains, Hakerville Road and Town Creek Drainage Phase 2, the Public Works Facility, Tolly Road, and others. Next week, we'll have the budget workshop on June 22nd, starting at 5 p.m. I met with the council CIP subcommittee before this meeting and discussed with them having an interactive exercise with all of you on you developing your 5-year CIP plan using an interactive exercise. What I hope is that you can recognize, given your checkbook, meaning your debt capacity, your existing funds, transportation impact funds, water, wastewater impact funds, and other buckets of money, how can you advance your top priorities? And through that exercise, I'm not expecting that you complete a 5-year CIP, but I hope that you can begin to develop one that you know the city can afford and that is organized in a way that it advances your priorities in the chronological order that you believe best meets your needs for the community. In the 2023 summer internships, we have hired Cibolo residents for college internships. There's 2. There's one in IT and one in communications. And we're really happy to be able to offer that opportunity to our local residents. The council redistricting survey results, I sent that to you, and I just want you to know that we will continue to send survey results on a weekly basis as we get them.
How's that looking, by the way, as far as plan 1 or 2?
So in the email that I sent, you would call me on that, Mayor. I'm gonna pull up that email.
One was pulling more.
I'm a little behind
Yes,
on
sir.
my email, so that's
Yep.
what I was wanting to know.
Give me just, seriously, if you give me 1 second, I will pull that up.
More votes for one than yours.
What I saw was, I was really happy that people are using the survey. All right, so this is through June 9th. That's Friday of last week. Number of surveys, 34. Selection of map 1, 24, to Mr. Hicks's point. Map 2, 10.
Okay.
We identify the neighborhoods that the residents self-identify that they live in and who's filling out the survey. There are 6 comments. I also attached a PDF so you could read those comments.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's pretty light. 34 people. I mean, wow.
So
That's,
I believe in the email I provided you the link. Again, push people to the website to fill out that survey, but that's just a good start right there. And that survey can be up all summer long as we're advancing your selection of the map.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Reed.
All right. And then the ICMA award, that right there is actually to recognize that Kelsey Jordan Lee was selected by the International City County Management Association, ICMA, for a young leader recognition. And so at the ICMA conference this year, which will be held in Austin, Texas, she will be given that award. And so I think it's great that when we can have our own professional staff recognized in their industries, and so wanted to announce that. And also, we have entered into a best places to work competition. This is where an independent firm that evaluates organizations for based on various factors through employees who volunteer to respond to the survey. Is this a great place to work? And so when we talk about the brand that is Cibolo, how do we represent that brand externally? So this is just a measurement that we can have, and it's not guaranteed that we'll be a top place, but if we are, then they will inform us, is it a top place because of culture? Is it a top place because of our values and so forth? They have various categories of it. And many organizations participate in this same top or best places to work competition, both in the private sector and in the public sector. Sir, Mayor, that concludes my updates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. Appreciate that. Did you cover the city mayor video? Did I miss that? All right.
City mayor video?
Okay, the police department covered that one. Okay, so,
Yes.
we're still waiting on a couple of attorneys to show up for the executive session, so we're gonna skip on ahead to
We
number
uploaded
9.
the, Mayor?
I'm sorry, number 10?
Mayor,
Yes.
did you want the video?
Oh, no, did you mention it, that we're gonna start recording those? I'm sorry, maybe I missed it when you said that.
I did not mention that, sorry. It's on there, and was not in my notes, I'm very sorry. So one form of transparency is how can we get more information out to our residents, the general public, about what City Council is doing? We will begin after a City Council meeting with you, Mayor, doing a council recap. And so this will be a video that's 1 to 4 minutes long, and it talks about what did council get done tonight. And we're trying to do a better job of letting your residents know through our social media channels, through a video like this, of what you're working on. And so that's something we're excited to start after the June 27th council meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Reed. For some reason I thought we were doing that tonight, so, okay, so we'll do it next time. All right, so moving on to 10A, approval, disapproval of an ordinance of the city of Cibolo regarding a conditional
skipped right
use
over it.
permit for property located at 1442 Hagerville Road to allow for manufactured home residential use. Ms. Huerta.
Good evening again. You held a public hearing for this item at the last meeting. So the request is a conditional use permit to allow a manufactured home residential use at 1442 Hagerville Road. It's required because this is in a single-family residential SF2 district. It's only allowed with a CUP, with a conditional use permit. Staff recommends, should council approve the conditional use permit for manufactured home, that it be subject to a few conditions, including 1, subject to plating, 2, provide all-weather access and emergency access lane, 3, fire protection, and 4, issuance of building permits. Therefore, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by a 7-0 vote. And the council has 3 options: approval of the conditional use permit, approval with conditions, or deny with findings.
Thank you very much for that information. Do I hear a motion for 10A?
Make a motion to approve tonight.
For your second? Second. We'll do a roll call this time.
I did, I was trying to get the microphone.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we can have, I don't remember having any comments on this on the last public hearing. It was kind of there and we just went through it, right? Did we even discuss it?
I don't know, I wasn't here on this one, third.
We didn't discuss because it's public hearing.
Trace down the PowerPoint recording with Peggy.
All right, so can we discuss something?
Yep.
Oh,
What's here for right now?
So my concern is this is not exactly how this was all supposed to be laid out. And so what has transpired, I think, is kind of an injustice to the home or the property owner, to be honest. I drove out there, it's a farm. Is that you now? It's still a farm, right? Looked farmy. bales of hay and stuff. And so I think we've kind of had a flavor of that from Mr. Hester's conversation today, that maybe we, in some way, zoned these things what made sense or maybe didn't make sense. I don't even know how they got that way. I mean, if I ask, you can kind of say they were rolled up into other things. And I really think that we're doing an injustice to the entire point of 1332 and SF2 zoning, where we take 100 acres about, is that right? 160? 160, right? We take 160 acres and we reduce it down to an SF2 that she then has to do all of this stuff that not a year ago we had a guy at an SF2 property on Country Lane. We just threw a mobile home on his property with using 1332. And then 3 or 4 months ago we threw all the SF2 regulations out and put a mobile home on SF2 property. So now we're in Rev 3 of what we do with these things. And I think the frustration I have for me is that none of them have made sense. Well, one has made sense to date. And this one makes more sense like the one from the other months ago when we just said, yeah, you have 160 acres, for the love of Mike, put a mobile home on it, have a nice day. But because we're now in SF2 and now we've decided that we need to follow all the rules, you're stuck. And I'd like to unstick you, and so I think there's a better way to unstick this, and maybe we can't do it at this meeting, but I think it would be worth having the discussion as we talk to the Hesters. And just rezone her, she's already paid a ton of money, I'm sure, to get to this point. Rezone her to ag at the city's cost, and then put a cup on her property for a mobile home, which is allowed in ag, and then we don't have to go through any of this. I mean, you're looking at massive costs here. You stated it the other day at the meeting. The costs are immense. For you to do with 160 acres what you should just be able to do on 160 acres. But somewhere along the line you got put in an SF2, and then all the other stuff I just mentioned happened, and it's just not right. It's just not right. So I think there ought to be another option, which is to say, let's just change her to ag, with the idea that she can put a cup at a mobile home on her property and take care of her family and move on. And then I think going forward, we need to start looking at a lot of these SF2 properties that are hundreds of acres. And look, if they ever decide to develop them, they'll have to come back. They're in the city of limits. They'll have to come back and get a zoning classification other than ag. You can't develop ag land. So when they come back, we determine what the right, we work with the property owner to figure out what the right zoning is, and we make that determination then, not 10 years ago or 12 years ago under some roll-up that this happened that probably your parents, is that who's the primary, probably didn't even know it was happening. And we can say that with some assurity that a lot of things happened or did happen in the past where zonings were changed without anybody seeming to know it. So I think this has been a cruel process. I wanted multiple times to reach out to you and tell you what I was thinking, but that would have been wrong, so I didn't. And then fortunately it has to go all the way to this process for me to explain what I think is probably the right answer to this problem, rather than compounding this mess up that we have with the UDC and the Ordinance 1332 and the way it's being used in 3 different ways now. That's not the intent of a law, is to use it 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 different ways. It should just meet some standard and go forward. So I would like, I don't know that this is one of the choices I was given, but I think I could probably make a motion to deny with, I can't do it now because you guys have already made a motion, but my motion would be to deny.
It'll be the second motion.
You can ask her to amend her motion.
An interim motion?
You can ask her to amend.
Yeah, I can ask her to amend it, which would be to deny tonight, rezone this ag at city costs, and she's already spent a fortune to get to here, and then give her the cup on the mobile home ag, which is clearly in the books to do, and maybe, ma'am, within a couple of weeks or a month, depending on how the meetings line up, you could be
Do you want to come up to the podium?
rolling your home out there.
Do you mind? Before we make these motions, I want to make sure that this is something you want to do. We don't want to, make decisions for you. Do you have a rush? I'm assuming that you want to get this mobile home going as soon as possible, right?
I have not purchased a mobile home or anything because I was going through the process that the city had laid out for me. And not understanding the whole process of it, it's become very ridiculous as far as what is being asked. I understand if I was in the city and wanting to sell to a developer or something, yes, I understand the cost and stuff that would have to come along with it. But I'm just an individual that's wanting to come and take care of my parents, and they're allowing me to put a home out there. That's pretty much it.
Because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, let's just say, I mean, you have 100, that's a lot of property, right?
Correct.
I mean, you could, let's just say 5 years from now, you decide you want to sell your property, it would be much easier just to say, okay, well, it's already SF2, so I don't have to come to P&Z and ask for a rezone. I can just sell it right now, and people can build it as 2 homes per acre. Then you wouldn't have to go through the whole process of trying to rezone later.
My
is what I'm
parents
saying.
live there, my sister lives there, there's 3 other siblings, and they farm the land, it's gonna
Okay.
stay in the
So
family.
you're gonna keep farming it for,
Yes.
for generations?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure you understood your rights and,
Yes, sir.
you know, what, basically, you know, what that would do. I just didn't want you to get painted into a corner if that's not what you want to be.
Correct,
But if you do
correct.
want to be in that corner, okay.
Would you be all right with that?
Changing it back to ag
Yes.
and being able to put a mobile home out there without having to plat it, and yes, absolutely, that's what I'm asking.
That's what you're looking for. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So we'll go forward with, do you want to recount your motion, Katie?
Can I rescind my motion?
Okay, so motion has been rescinded. Randy's second has been rescinded as well. Councilman Benson, you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we deny, we have to deny this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
One way or the other. Or she can
Or
withdraw,
10 AM, sorry.
either way.
Which is easier for her? I mean, if we deny it, it kinda sucks, cause doesn't that
That's what
take
I'm
a
saying.
6 month?
It'd
What?
be easier if she withdrew, so that if something doesn't work the way she wants, she can always come back
Right.
and rescind
Okay.
it. So
Do
you
you
have to
understand that
withdraw
now?
for today.
So if I withdraw, then what is the timeframe of?
So I'm gonna make that my motion, that we turn that pretty quick. It should not be brain surgery to turn this around.
Right. You could table it,
Yeah, let me set the table.
table it,
So
and
now we're
then,
thinking,
have
now
her
let's
come
table
back.
All right,
And
so
then we
motion
can
to table?
revisit.
Motion to table.
Yeah, we got a motion and a second. This time we're gonna start
Who
with,
seconded it?
Roberts?
Robert said thank you.
this time we're gonna start with Councilman Hicks.
Aye.
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 Ayes have it, 6-0.
And Mayor, with the council direction, staff could come back with an amendment to the UDC, maybe allowing, for this type of development, putting some direction, like maybe not more than 3 homes with no utility, no development.
I think if you look in ag, it's defined as MH1, and it's 1 home, they have to put in an acre, and it has to be 1 home per acre is what they can do. Now, we run into what Ms. Latimer said, and I haven't looked up the Texas Local Government Code or wherever
The
she was
plating
at,
issue.
the Constitution, but they can divide only so many times before, and you have to maintain your ag, right? If you guys stop farming tomorrow, then all this is kind of, well, unless we change your ag, and then that's whatever, but does that make sense? So I think just look at the regulations in UDC for ag for us, and I think it has to be an acre, because that's the minimum for OSSF.
Okay.
So I think Mr. Benson and the council, what Susanna Huerta is trying to say is that while there are state codes, when you're home rule and you adopt local standards, our local standard prevails over what the state code. And so what we're listening to is your intent. Right now, even if this gets rezoned to ag, or Mr. Hester's property gets rezoned to ag, we have a provision in there for development plats, and they're triggered by the permit for a new residential dwelling.
Well, I think in ag, we need to look at that then,
Yeah.
because this is problematic.
We are going to weave a very narrow pathway for an exemption to platting that's following what we're hearing from council tonight.
Well, yeah, because 1332, when it passed, I was on planning and zoning, this is exactly what it was meant to do, was to allow somebody to move out on their acreage, like
Yep.
big acres, and somehow we've turned it into this goulash of nonsense where she's got a
Yes, sir.
plat of subdivision. And somebody else didn't have to, right? That's the worst of it, is that some have, some haven't, and that just looks insane. So yes, if we can weave that out as well, we may have to go into the UDC to fix something, but.
We will. But we will bring the rezoning concurrent with that UDC amendment.
All right, that would be awesome.
Next up is tab
That'd be
B,
useful.
approval, disapproval of an ordinance of the city of Cibolo regarding a variance for property located at 2662 FM 1103 to eliminate the requirement for trees within the 20-foot landscape buffer per UDC Article 17. Ms. Huerta.
Yes, you also had a public hearing for this item at your last meeting. At this property located at 2662 FM 1103, they're asking to eliminate the 20-foot buffer and instead just provide trees. I'm sorry, they will be not providing trees but still providing a 5-foot easement. The Plan and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 a recommendation of the variance request to eliminate the requirement of the trees within the 20-foot landscape buffer and approve the proposed landscape plan, which includes shrubs and bushes to demonstrate compliance with all other landscaping requirements per UDC Article 17.
Just to clarify, it is still going to be a 20-foot buffer, correct?
There's an easement there that kind of serves like a separation, but in their site plan, they would be held to the site plan that they provided. That's included in your packet.
But the easement, a big easement of 5 feet is not.
No,
It's not an
big-
easement.
it's not
This
5
is a
feet.
bad
It's a
deal as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. We have a 20-foot easement for a reason.
Yes.
So I think they got this one wrong.
So how many feet will be from the residences to,
There's an existing,
because the map, I'm sorry, the map is so small on the
Yes.
picture. I'm trying to
I
envision
know.
it.
Said 43-foot
43 feet, there's a sanitary and drainage easement that's existing, that's 43 feet.
Right, so it's not
And-
5 feet, it's a
and there-
43-foot easement there that they can't put any trees on it because
Yes.
of the sewer and the drainage.
They are proposing in that area that's highlighted red and immediately adjacent to the fence to residential, they are proposing shrubbery as a buffer. And then they have added additional trees on their site plan to try to accommodate for not placing trees within that easement.
So, I'm sorry, it's just very, very small.
I understand.
So I see the red section,
Uh-huh.
and that is, it looks like 20 feet?
But then you
They-
add this other
it's
So
with-
that's
here.
20 feet, and then it looks like there's the drainage easement, and then there's this other strip with the parking spaces and trees.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's the wall. And so how wide is the red section, that's 20 feet?
That looks like it's about 20 feet,
Okay,
yes.
so 20 feet and then a 43-foot drainage, or? is
No,
that-
it's part of that
It's
43.
20 and 23,
Uh-huh.
Got it.
so it's 43 total.
Yes.
So you've got 20 here, Katie?
I got it, I understand now.
The reason they weren't meeting it also, they couldn't use that easement to plant trees. Because of our requirements, if there's utility lines in there, the roots can mess up the lines.
Yeah, you don't want to plant trees where there's,
Correct,
you know,
so our ordinance doesn't
internet
allow it.
lines
I'm
and
gonna
water
apologize
lines.
for really, elementary questions,
that's
but I wanna
fine.
make sure. We have made a lot of variances for businesses and for lots of different reasons, and we have a UDC for a reason. It's very hard for me to justify variances in a lot of cases because we have rules for a reason. So based on what I'm seeing on the map and what you're telling me, is that the UDC requires they plant trees within that 20-foot
Correct,
that 20-foot buffer.
correct.
They physically cannot plant trees in that buffer. But in addition to it being a 20-foot buffer, they're adding an additional 23 feet because of the easement, for a total of 43 feet.
No, those 43 feet are all drainage and sanitary
But,
sewer
yeah, but
easement.
they're not building anything on that 43
Correct.
feet. So there'll
Correct.
be the stone fence, 43 feet,
Mhm.
and at the very edge of that 43 feet, they're going to plant these
Bushes.
wax, myrtle,
Mhm.
and thorny, whatever that other one is.
Mhm. Just
So
up against
although-
the fence, yeah.
So even if we tell them no, they cannot plant trees in that 20-foot.
And, yeah,
It's
in that
just-
drainage easement,
In
they
the
cannot.
43.
In the
Well,
43.
I
They can in the
43.
20, but they don't want to do the 20.
Yeah. Yeah, they would have needed to do an additional 20 if they wanted to be able to put trees. So it would have eaten up 20 feet more of their property.
So they would have lost 63 feet of the back of it.
Now,
Yes.
are these not trees right here?
Yeah, within the parking lot.
I'm sure the homeowners that are living
No,
behind,
these are
this
trees.
development are gonna want every inch of that 23 or 63 feet
Yeah.
instead of
Well,
making it 43.
And I get that the developer doesn't wanna lose land, obviously, they wanna make money, but we're also here to represent the residents who actually
Yep.
live there.
Exactly.
So, if we're not gonna follow the UDC, because UDC says within that 20-foot landscape buffer, they have to have trees, if we're not gonna follow that, we have to make sure that those residents are still protected by whatever is there. Like, they're not going from a 20-foot landscape buffer and without any trees at all, just to make it grass. They're doing the 20-foot landscape buffer, but they can't plant trees in, plus 23 feet, that is a drainage easement, and they're doing trees and stuff on the edge of that 43.
Yeah, within the parking lot, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just have a quick question. When this was platted, was the easement known at the time? I mean, is that drainage?
Yes. Yes, it was as part of the plat, the easement. That's when it was platted.
See, the last time we had one of these is the school where GVC came in after the fact and said, oh, we need this land. It bothers me a lot that we platted this knowing that we weren't gonna be able to,
Was that Legacy?
yeah.
I remember that.
Because correct me if I'm wrong in the front, I wasn't there at the P and Z meetings, but correct me on the front, you're basically out of room in the front, right? Because you'd have to have so much frontage, right? I mean, could they have moved the whole building 20 feet to the front towards 1103?
They also have the fuel pumps in the front, so.
Right, but I'm saying I guess I'm kind of making the point, we platted something that's impossible.
And I'm with you too, like, I feel bad for the developer because they can't. We made a situation that's impossible, we have a rule that they cannot meet. It can't happen. So we have to be flexible on that, but we also need to make sure that those residents that back up to that are protected. If it were me living there,
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Yeah, every inch of it.
but
Absolutely. They're gonna have
43 feet is more than
fuel
double.
smell and everything else.
Right.
I don't know.
I think-
Light, noise, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
These gas stations have a ton of light coming out of them.
But they can't leave the property, Mr. Allen.
And, I mean, to be fair, this is already zoned commercial, they didn't ask for a different zoning change, they're just asking for a variance on that landscape buffer. I still enjoy it.
So the plan is they're gonna put trees up against the wall, and then there's one
No,
in the.
shrubs.
Shrubs,
Shrubs,
sorry,
not trees,
sorry.
yeah.
Foliage. What were they? They grow tall?
They grow tall.
Like
Myrtles
do,
will-
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Myrtles will grow
It
tall.
could be about 8 feet or 10, like myrtle. But it doesn't exactly stop noise.
And the applicant is also here if you have some questions.
What's that?
The applicant is also here if you have any additional questions.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to ask the applicant, when you got this information, when you put everything together, did you see this was gonna be a problem? Who's the applicant?
Come on up to the microphone, please, for the applicant.
Good evening, council members. My name is Diane Bernal. I'm the applicant and the agent for 9 Red Development. When we first were moving forward on this lot, there wasn't initially a drainage and sanitary easement because it was still in the process of plating. We moved forward on our design, and when it finished its plating process, we were provided a final copy of the final plat, and it showed the 43-foot buffer. And our landscape architect instantly was like, hey, I can't meet my tree requirement back there. And we contacted staff and we were told, okay, what you need to do is process a variance from the landscape buffer. We want to keep the landscape buffer. We have made, since our very initial submittal, we've always proposed the wax myrtles and the thorny eleagnes, I think that's how you pronounce it, which grow thick also and as well as high. And the trees are the only thing that we had to remove, and that was because of a conflict in the other code that does not allow trees within a drainage and sanitary easement. To help with the tree issue, we're used to developing where lots of trees are always required, and we want trees on the property to help beautify FM 1103. We think that's a major impact for passersby. We added more trees along the frontage, and we have consistently applied the minimum required and then excess of the bushes along the back end of the property. So it will be their rock masonry fence. It'll be our shrubbery and foliage, and then it'll, from that fence, the 43 feet forward, and then we have our parking islands with the trees that we can fit in there, because we are also cannot have trees within 5 feet of the 43-foot easement. So we were planning our best with the lack of space that we have now at the back of at the rear of the property. So we really would like to put trees back there, but we just are unable to because of the other ordinance that we cannot follow. It's one or the other for us.
On the back of the property, are there going to be lights?
There are going to be lights probably on the back of the building, but we are required to follow the dark skies ordinance, so they can't be less than 2-foot candles at the property line.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So P and Z was unanimous on the recommending of the variance?
Yeah. What it says.
Surprises me.
I know. Do I hear a motion? No motion?
I'll make a motion to approve bids 10B.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we'll do a roll call starting with Councilman Hicks.
Aye.
Aye.
Only because there's no way for them to do it.
Nay.
Nay. I'm the tiebreaker.
So now,
Thank
if
you.
it's voted down, what do? They cannot.
They don't have a
physically-
variance.
Yeah, right, but we just said that our UDC makes it impossible for them to follow our rules, period. So, we just said, we have rules, we acknowledge they're impossible, good luck to you, move on.
Build something else. I don't know.
Just remember that when other things come up, remember that.
Okay. Next up is 10C, approval, disapproval of an amendment to Chapter 74 of the city's Code of Ordinances to prohibit stopping, standing, or parking on Green Valley Road between FM 1103 and Carey Street to include public right-of-way. Chief Huggins.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, we have had numerous complaints over the last couple of years about vehicles parking on the right-of-way of Green Valley Road at the intersection of FM 1103 and Green Valley Road. And you can see on the map that's up there on the screen right now, that's the area we're talking about. There's a fairly large section of right-of-way at that intersection. Several vehicles have been parked at that location at regular intervals, as if certain drivers are utilizing that public right-of-way as a parking lot. The specific location is at the southwest corner of FM 1103 and Green Valley Road. So, based on the complaints we received and the request we have from a council member, we're asking that we amend Chapter 74 of our Code of Ordinances to prohibit parking on Green Valley Road between FM 1103 and Carey Street to include the public right-of-way, to prohibit this from being a parking lot in the future.
Make a motion to approve 10C as written. There's no more discussion.
Second.
Roll call starting with Councilman Benson.
Aye.
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 Ayes have it, 6-0. Thanks.
Thank you
Chief
very
Huggins.
much.
Appreciate it. All right, next up, 11A, resolution, approval, disapproval of a resolution of the city of Cibolo amending the bylaws for the CEDC. Mrs. Reed.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So before you, a little bit of background. The Cibolo Economic Development Corporation and also the City of Cibolo City Council previously approved some amended bylaws of the EDC back in the summer of last year. A red line version of that bylaw amendment is included in your packet. The City Council did vote to approve those amended bylaws at the July 26th City Council meeting. Those minutes are within the packet. However, something that was missing was that according to the Texas Local Government Code Section 501.064, which governs economic development corporations, any amendments to an EDC's bylaws must be approved via a resolution of the governing body. And so what we have before you is an accompanying resolution for your consideration that just officially cements the changes that had been previously approved by the City Council. I make a motion to approve 11A.
I'll second that. Is there any more questions or discussion with this before we move forward?
Yeah, real quick, 11A was the, where'd it go?
EDC bylaw. The bylaws.
Oh,
for
not
the
the,
EDC.
no, not, I did have one. There's a place in the EDC bylaws that talks about another employee, hiring an employee. Where was it? I wrote it down. I'm sorry. You know where I'm at?
Yes, that's where,
Anybody got the paragraph? My computer just went,
it's on page,
wait, here it is, maybe, let me find it.
3, 4, 5.
Sorry.
There's a section on employees, which is 5.09.
What page?
The red lines, it's page 8.
All right, let me go there. Start there.
In the other one, it's page 7 in the accepted changes version.
It's right here. It's page 8, Mr. Benson.
Maybe I read that. I had a note on mine. This isn't the right one I had, but I had a note on that. This is just talking about the ability to employ somebody, right? You're not intending to employ somebody. Is that what I understand?
Certainly. So the Economic Development Corporation could, if it chose and had council approval through a budget process or other means, could go out and choose to hire staff that isn't city employees. Right now, the city has a professional services agreement with the EDC wherein the EDC reimburses the city for any work that staff does on their behalf. But they could have the option to hire separate employees.
Right. I may have read that different one day, but I can't find what I was looking at, so I'm sure it's fine for today. If I have any other questions, I'll reach out.
Okay, certainly.
So with that is, I've got a motion, I got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Passes.
12A, discussion action on the purchase of mobile AV equipment to include computer hardware, audio and visual equipment, software and peripheral equipment from Digital Resources, Inc. through the Interlocal Purchasing System, TIPS, in the amount not to exceed $63,965. Tracy Beekman.
Yes, sir. This item is to purchase a mobile audiovisual system. It's a production system that we can take with us for, say, the city addresses or anything like that. It
Like
would
tonight?
most likely be like this. Yes, absolutely. It would most likely be used by our communications department as well. So that is what this is for. We are funding this with PEG, the PEG funds, Public Education and Government Channel funds that we get. So it doesn't hit the general fund.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions on this item for Tracy? Do I hear a
Is this
motion?
what we're having I'm sorry. Is this what we're having problems with this morning, or right now?
Right now.
Where we can't do the live stream?
That was an internet drop. The internet drop,
Okay.
they've got two separate ones, and we were on one of them. We just couldn't get it to join back, so we're recording it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was in the budget, fiscal year 23, right? We have this plan in the budget.
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 12A as written.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. We'll start this one with Councilman Benson.
Aye.
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 Ayes have it, 6-0. Thank you, Tracy.
Yes, sir. Got the next two.
Okay, next up is B, discussion action on the purchase of AV equipment to include computer hardware, audio and visual equipment, software, and peripheral equipment from Digital Resources, Inc. through the interlocal purchasing system TIPS in an amount not to exceed $426,977.
This is the same as the previous one. It is funded by PEG. This is what's actually going to go into council chambers. We are replacing a lot of the older equipment, cameras, the projector, the screen on the back, all that's going away. We'll be putting in a video wall. We'll be putting in a production system in another room that is off of council chambers. This is also going to bring in an electronic voting system and a few other software changes that will help ease y'all's problems.
Excuse me, you said electronic voting?
Yes, sir.
So when we vote, so that way you can have it light up as green or red, you know, when each of us vote. That way Peggy can see it. You know, kind of like the city of San Antonio, they have that.
And sure, it's something we've,
Tap the screen and
Yeah, it's pretty
cast your
cool.
vote.
And
Yeah.
will this be ready by the time we reopen, like at the end of the year? Or
That is the
think?
plan, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll get the PO to them, and if it's approved, we can get
Yep.
the PO to them and get them included in part of that rebuild.
Very good. Do we have any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve 12B as it's written.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. This time we'll start with Councilman Hicks.
Aye.
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 Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Tracy. All right, one more. Is 12C, discussion action for the purchase of computer equipment and peripheral devices from Dell Technologies through the Texas Department of Information Resources in the estimated amount of $60,316. Tracy.
Yes, sir. These are, this is our annual refresh that we do every year, so machines that are 5 years or older, we go ahead and replace those with new ones. There was actually an amendment that had to be done for this one at our last council meeting that Ms. Miranda did for us. It was originally budgeted, but somehow got messed up somewhere along the way, but that amendment fixed that, and that's what this is for, is just to replace MDTs, desktops, laptops for various departments throughout the city. MDTs are police department, fire department, computers, sorry.
Okay.
So we're talking Windows 11?
No, sir, not yet. We'll stay on Windows 10 for right now.
Okay.
Windows 11 is more
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm asking.
home friendly. So,
and these are the tough books.
some of these are tough books. It's the Dell tough books. Some of them will be. Some of them are just regular desktop computers where laptops not necessary. But a lot of these will be laptops for staff. So,
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 12C as written.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, this time we'll start with Councilman Hicks.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, 6-0. Tracy? All right, next up is 12D, discussion action on the possibility of a facility study for the future needs of the city of Cibolo. The city would consider the city's current workspaces. The study would consider the city's current workspaces for employees in various departments, as well as the potential for future growth of the city's workforce and workforce needs. Chief Owens.
Thank you, sir. So this evening, we're just going to talk about our current facilities, where we've come from and where we are now, and the possibility of doing a study for the future. So, you got this, Chris? Yeah, if you have the thing, I'll do it. All right, so overview of this evening's presentation. We're going to talk about our original designs and accommodations of city facility. 2007 facility needs study that was done. Our previous council, adaptations of space to meet growing workforce, needs of the city for future growth, And then the question of the night is council support funding a facility needs study in FY '24. So I started this presentation in 2004 because that's when the new current city hall was new, and FY '24 would be a 20 years forward. So where are we at 20 years later? So just a quick recap of 2004, what it looked like for the city of Cibolo. Population was about 5,872 people. We had 15 full-time employees for the city, 9 in City Hall, 3 in Public Works, 3 at the Police Department, and then our fire department was all volunteers back then. If you compared us to Schertz in 2004, they had a population of 24,926, a total of 205 full-time employees, and you can see the breakdown of some of their larger departments. Their larger departments had more people in one department than we had as an entire city. But when you look at the per capita numbers, for Cibolo, we had 1 employee for every 391 citizens, and Schertz had 1 employee for every 121 citizens. City Hall in 2004 was occupied by 9 employees, and there were several empty office spaces, as you can see on the map, or on the floor plan on the wall. So we had 3 Public Works employees working in a different facility, 3 Police Department employees working at a different facility. But within City Hall, there was 9 employees and lots of space for growth, lots of space for future needs. Fast forward to 2007, 3 years later, and the city grew exponentially. We went from those 9 employees at City Hall to 18 employees at City Hall. We went from 15 employees total to 56 employees total, and our population more than doubled in the city. So what that left was, as we grew, we were down to 1 empty office space within City Hall, and lots of other employees working in the building. We also had 19 employees working off-site at Public Works, and 19 employees at the Police Department at that time, working in a different facility. So in 2007, City Council at that time decided to do a facility study to see what the future needs were going to be for the city as it was rapidly growing at that point in time. So if you look at the pictures on the left, that was our Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and Water Department facilities at that time. It left something to be desired, to say the least. On the right is the facilities of the Police Department. The top one was the main Police Department building, which was the previous City Hall, and prior to being City Hall was a bank building. The little red brick building was the kind of the evidence room, the storage room, but it was pretty dilapidated at that time, and that's all it could be used for. And at the bottom, you can see about 3 cinder block kennels, and that was the animal control facility at the time. So, looking at the facilities other than City Hall, it was obvious that there needed to be some new facilities built within the city to accommodate our growing workforce and the growing needs of the community. So in 2007, City Council hired a firm named Archimedia to analyze the various departments in the city and analyze the needs of the departments at that time. The workspace for each employee was considered, as was storage space for records, supplies, and more. Archimedia also addressed the future growth of the city and the corresponding growth of the city's workforce. Because of issues discovered in this study, the city moved forward with new facilities for Public Works, Animal Services, Police, and Fire. So in 2009, after that facility study was completed, council moved forward with several new buildings for the growing workforce. A new Public Works building was built, and a new animal shelter were designed and built in both 2009 and 2010. And then 2010, 2011, the Police Department building was built, and Fire Station 2 was also built. At the time of construction, which is now our current Public Works building, the original building was a total of 8,700 square feet with about 360 square feet of desk and office space, 2 restrooms and a break room of about 345 square feet. The remainder of the space was open garage space for maintenance activities and equipment and storage, material storage. 1,800 square feet was also added to that building in 2015. If you look at the
You
pictures
get to
on,
go home.
on the right up there, that's our public works employees and their break room, as it sits right now. It was built to accommodate 24 full-time employees, but at that time, currently, there's 52 employees that have to use that small break room and 2 restrooms. The police department building that was built in 2010 was 13,500 square feet. 13,516 square feet with 9,620 square feet of business space. The building was designed to accommodate the police department staffing at the time of 24 full-time employees with some room for future expansion. The current building accommodates 48 full-time employees within the police department, as well as 3 full-time employees within the information services department. The second floor, let me go back real quick. So that, as you can look, the grayed out area, that's the jail facility they built within that police department building. And then there's office spaces along the top section and the bottom section, again, to accommodate 24 full-time employees. The second floor was designed to accommodate 8 office workspaces for approximately 15 patrol officers and 6 sergeants. There was also room for a second lieutenant and juvenile interview space as well. There was room for a future expansion to include a dispatch center and a dispatch supervisor. The building built in 2009 for animal services was to accommodate an animal population at that time with 12 dog kennels and approximately 12 indoor cat kennels. There was 1 animal service officer in 2009. At the time of the original construction, the standalone office building that we use now was not in place. That was added in 2012. It's a 15 by 15 portable building. So fast forward to today, the business space at the police department that was originally designed in the bottom floor to accommodate 10 employees, as well as a temporary jail facility and the 3 holding facilities. We've increased the full-time employees at the police department over those past 13 years. And the first floor place was adapted to accommodate 12 office spaces for 17 employees. And the temporary jail facility has been transformed into the patrol room to accommodate 22 police officers working alternating shifts while still accommodating 1 holding cell. Second floor space has since been adapted to accommodate 14 office spaces. The dispatch center was adapted to accommodate 6 detective workstations and a CID lieutenant. Information services has been housed with 2 office spaces in the front of the building for several years now. Upstairs, there's 2 office spaces that they're using. Second floor now accommodates 15 full-time employees with no room for expansion unless we repurpose the training room and conference room that we have upstairs for office space. So the animal services facility was expanded in 2012 with 4 outside kennels, and they were actually covered in 2017. Before 2017, they were just open top kennels. We now have 5 animal services officers working out of that small 15 by 15 portable building. The building services their office / adoption center / workspace / restroom / bakery. And there's about 168 square feet of workspace in that small portable building for animal services. 2021, City Hall occupancy, we had 33 employees working out of City Hall at that time. City population had grown to 33,475 people, and our total workforce was increased to 167 employees. We had 50 and a half public works employees working off-site, 50 and a half police department employees working off-site, and then the fire department has 32 employees in 2021. But as you can see at that floor plan, all of the office spaces in City Hall were occupied. In 2022, 2023, we added some facilities within the city of Cibolo. We added fire station number 3, City Hall Annex, and in 2023, this year, we're working on our public works expansion. So City Hall Annex was originally designed as an elementary school back in 1915 and was remodeled in 2022 to accommodate the growing staff at City Hall. The reconstruction was completed in December 2022, and employees moved into the building in January this year. The first floor of the annex building, as y'all have walked through and seen it, accommodates the building department and code enforcement. The building department includes chief building official, inspectors, and 2 permit techs. The first floor also has a 710 square foot community room to hold meetings and events, as well as a 465 square foot employee break room. The first floor was accommodated to handle 9 full-time employees, and it currently has 8. Second floor of the building consists of the planning department, people and performance department, communications, capital improvements, and economic development. That upstairs was built to accommodate 19 full-time employees, and we currently have 16 full-time employees permanently stationed at that location. Again, the building is occupied by 24 full-time employees with an occupancy of 28. That picture there shows the expansion that we're having at the Public Works facility at this time. That picture's a little bit old. They've actually got the roof on it, all the walls on it. We're working on the inside of the building now. But one thing we did not take into consideration when we did that expansion of the building itself was parking spaces. We do not have adequate parking spaces for all the employees that are working at our facility. We have 31 parking spots and 57 in the building. So that's something we need to take into consideration in the future. They could. I guess they could get together and do a little carpooling.
Via that come through here.
What's that?
Get via buses.
There you go. So the Public Work building is being expanded by a 4,000 square foot office meeting and workspace. It will have 3 new restrooms, 2 of the ADA compliant showers. 7 new office spaces are all designed and will be occupied when the building is completed this fall. We have 1 384 square foot workroom to be used by 42 employees for access to computers. We have another open office space of about 400 square feet that will provide open format office space for 10 division crew leaders. And then our 2 fleet mechanics will work out of a section of the old building with about 130 square foot office space there. 2023, this year we had 19 employees working in City Hall after several groups of employees moved over to the annex. Population of 2023 was about 34,857, with 191 total employees now working in the city. And again, we have 55 employees working offsite at Public Works, 53 employees working at the police department. Fire department has 39 employees, and now City Hall Annex has 22 employees working out of it. So there's still, as you can see, not a lot of open office space with what we have as far as our full-time employees working in City Hall at this time. So with the remodel that we're doing at City Hall right now, with moving some office spaces around, when the renovation is done, we'll have 21 employees working out of City Hall, and there will be additional room for 7 future full-time employees working out of that building. So there's some room for growth, and those are denoted by the red lettering on the building there itself. So with the remodel, there will be some more room in our facility, but not a lot. So, you know, the city has hired some consultants to do the needs assessment for our animal services division, as well as for the fire and police department with the public safety facility down off I-10. We're addressing current needs, and what we need to look for is future growth. So, new positions will require adequate workspace. And so the current facilities that we have at this time are to address current needs, not future needs. So we ought to look at what is good for our future needs in order to get ahead of our future growth. So to recap kind of what we've done, we've gone through all of our facilities, what they were designed for, how we've accommodated the spaces, looking at the fact that the city did a needs facility in 2007, but it's been quite some time. We've adapted to workspace to meet our growing workforce. But we need to look at what the future needs of the city are as we grow. So, does council support funding a facilities needs study in FY24? Obviously, that doesn't have to be answered tonight.
Yeah.
It can be answered at the budget workshops, but just planting that seed to say we got to look at where we're going as we're growing and what we need to do to accommodate our workforce.
Thank you very much, Chief Huggins.
Yes, sir.
So Chief, you're I guess we need to give action or give action, discussion action.
So, Yeah, no, go ahead. I got some comments before we take any action.
Okay, well, that's why, I mean, I was wanting to find out. So you're asking us to go out, looks like you did a pretty good study. I mean, I don't know that we need to go out and hire somebody. Is that what you're asking? For us to
I'm
hire
asking
somebody?
if during the budget process, y'all wanted to consider doing a actual facilities study, having a group come in and do a facilities study. I appreciate the comment. I did put a lot of work into it.
You did a great job.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. You did a great job.
You
You
already did this
explained
stuff.
everything. You've done everything, so why would we need to go out and hire another person and spend $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 taxpayers' money that could go into facilities? That's why I'm just asking you.
This is not my forte.
I understand you're learning.
Yes, sir.
But I just wanted to make sure, I mean, because you did a lot of work here. It looks like you did a lot of work.
Yes, sir.
You did a good job of doing what you did. You put this presentation together. That's what I was asking. You're asking us to go out and hire somebody to do
I'm
what
asking
you
y'all
just did.
to consider it on. That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Okay, so my commentary here is, that, you know, and again, I'm gonna second what Councilman Hicks said as far as the quality of the presentation was fantastic. It looks
Thank you.
to me like you've already done these assessment. I mean, it looks great. I think you did a really good job.
Thank you.
The trouble I have with this right now is the timing. I know that, you know, the CIP subcommittee with Councilman Hicks and Councilman Benson and I, you know, we're privy to some information as far as, you know, what we've got to work with.
Yes, sir.
And you know, you've been in on these meetings too.
Yes,
So,
sir.
you know, so I think once the rest of the council goes through the budget meetings and we're able to do that exercise where we take the, you know, the items, you know, which each have a price tag on them,
Right.
and go put them up on the wall, we're soon gonna find out that we're out of money, you know? And so I know that, you know, I think that there are some things that we've had to do for a long time that always just kept getting pushed to the wayside, like the animal shelter, like fixing these roads, like the fire station number 4. You know, those are the types of things that I think that we're gonna have to. That's where the money's gonna have to go.
Right.
You know, and so going in here and building, you know, fancy new buildings or even expanding buildings, which we're already doing right now in City Hall. You know, and doing in the Public Works facility, and what we just did with
Annex.
with the annex. Yeah, it kind of seems like we're a little tapped out on that type of stuff, you know, right now, because we can't keep kicking these other cans down the road in order to, you know, to make things more spacious.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I personally just think the timing isn't. I'm not saying we shouldn't do a study. We should, but I just think the timing isn't right now. You know, that's just my personal opinion on it. But,
That's y'all's decision to make.
Okay, if anything, I would say it would be smart to table it and get back to it after we get through the budget, and then we decide where that money's gonna go, you know, as far as the money that we do have. You know, once we've all decided, okay, yep, we're gonna spend it on these 7 things, or whatever it ends up being, then we're gonna end up looking at our bank account and seeing a $0 balance, you know, after we've decided what 7 things to fund.
Well, if
And
nothing
saying-
else that's on your radar.
Yeah, it's a, yeah, I mean, that'd be like, you know, me getting a brochure for a Ferrari, knowing that, you know, I can't afford a Ferrari.
If you get one, let me take a ride in it. That's all I ask.
I'm gonna pay for a brochure, so.
Can
quick
I ask-
route, that's
Can I
right.
get one more?
Okay,
real quick?
yes, sir.
So, could you, if you can't tell me, that's fine. It just is just along the lines of what the mayor was just talking about. Can you tell me if we did a study outside of, you know, like, did we hire somebody to do a study to tell us we need a bigger public works building?
No, not that I know of.
We did not?
Not that I know of, sir.
Okay. Well, that helps then. Because it seems odd to me that we, you know, my concern is we hire these studies out and then we build a public works building and probably didn't even meet our own UDC for parking spaces, right? It's just not the kind of thing that we need to be doing. Like, I mean, we don't even, probably didn't even build that to our own code. If you're telling me you're out of parking spaces because we didn't factor that in. So maybe we do need somebody to do it since we didn't factor that in, but at the same time, I still don't think we can afford to look at it right now. So it's, you know, growing pains stink, but when you got roads that you can't hardly traverse, then you know, maybe some of the offices that we're reconfiguring inside City Hall need to be smaller and sharing and buddying up a little bit. What'd I say? I don't know.
Again, this on your radar.
Yeah.
It's something for y'all to
Thanks.
consider.
Put
Okay.
it there.
Thank
You
you
bet.
very much. You
It's
did
on
a
there.
Great job. Thank you, Chief Hughes.
Thank you, Chief. You did a good job presentation. And
So, what do
to add
y'all want
to,
to do? Do y'all want to take a vote on this or table it? What do y'all think?
Table.
Do I hear a motion to table?
No action.
Okay, we can just let it die on the vine. Okay, we'll just let it die on the vine. All right. Next up is 12E. Discussion direction on Amazon Alexa. Building voice experiences for the city of Cibolo.
Sounds like a fancy
Mr.
title, doesn't
Burnett.
it? Okay, who am I, why am I here, and how can I help? So my name's Jody Burnett.
Do we have his presentation, Tracy? Okay, making sure
Yeah,
you
but
got
I'm
queued
not
up.
gonna, I won't read frame for frame.
Okay. He'll give you the remote if you want to show something.
No, I'm good. Just put up the first slide.
Okay.
Yeah, just leave that here. Okay, so I live here in Cibolo. I live in Falcon Ridge subdivision. And let's see, I've been here probably 15, 16 years. 4 of my 5 kids have been through Steel. And adopting one of the pillars of Cibolo about embracing entrepreneurs, this town has been a blessing to me in my entrepreneur spirit. Again, I have 30-something years in IT, so I have an IT company that does mobile app development. And around 2017, when Amazon Alexa hit the market, we began diving into conversational AI. I mentioned having multiple businesses. I also have a laundry service too, because I just can't sit still doing tech all day. So that's kind of why I'll be moving around up here too. So anyway, Amazon Alexa. So in 2017, Alexa came out. I would think that the majority of us here either have an Alexa device in our home, we've used Alexa on the Amazon app, or we've at least seen one of their commercials on TV, right? As you know, voice search has become the way to go. We all use Siri, we use Alexa, we use Google, and it just gets the information back to us faster and in a way that we can consume that information in a little bit easier manner. When I came in tonight, there was a ton of people here, and there was a whole lot of topics discussed. I got notes, but then listening to like your comments earlier about getting information out to the citizens, Alexa can do just that. I mean, as far as reducing inbound calls to the city, we know that our city staff gets the same freaking calls probably every week. When is my trash? When's bulk day? Where do I pay my traffic ticket? Where do I vote? What's the open jobs? All that kind of FAQ stuff that we don't have a massive call center for, but Alexa could definitely serve that purpose. How do people find out about it? Well, we put that just like we do our Facebook logo, a Twitter logo, and things like that. We have to tell our citizens that it's there. The information we know now that probably, I think it says the latest figures from Amazon are 80-something% of U.S. households have at least one Alexa device. Here in Cibolo, they don't break it down that much, but I would say there's probably a good 75% of us have a device, or like I said, we've at least played with it and seen with it. What can Alexa do for the city? I touched on it. Provide information, get that information out quicker and easier to our base. Now, I know some of the naysayers may think, well, we can already Google stuff, right? To Google something, you got to stop what you're doing, stop cooking dinner, stop driving your car or whatever, and then type it in, or engage Google and read read the results, right? With Alexa, you just ask. I mean, it's as simple as when's the next council meeting, when's my trash pickup, and that information is delivered to you right then. Staff. Say, like again, just it saves time for the phone calls, saves time for the information sharing. Council, you're all elected officials, so what better way to get your message out and to get news out there about your district than with Alexa? Many of the Alexa devices have screens, so mayor's minutes, podcasts, all that can be delivered from one source. You don't want to keep up with another data feed. We already have enough data to keep up with on websites, Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff for the city. The IT guys know what I'm talking about when I say, so I don't know if everybody looked up. API and data feeds are out there. We can use the API, we can use data feeds to feed Alexa that information that our citizens are asking for. And we don't have to redo work or have another employee, scrape time off to do data entry on something else. So that's why I'm here, just to say, hey, we had a citizen reach out on social media and say, I live somewhere else and that city had an Alexa skill, why doesn't Cibolo? So seeing that post, I said, hey, this is something I need to go present and say, I've done this. It's so weird to pat yourself or, say something about yourself, but Amazon recognizes 60-something people globally called Alexa champions, and I'm number 26. So I worked directly with Amazon. Of the 60,000-something skills, Alexa calls their app skills. So of the 60,000-something, our company has done 2,500. 2,600, I think. We worked directly with Amazon, with Microsoft when they announced the Cortana and Alexa handshake. So yeah, so that's why I'm here, to say I think this is something we can do at a very budget-friendly price for the city, to help the city, again, alleviate a little bit of labor, to share some information that our city asked for. Even as quick as, after, like I'll talk about after this meeting, doing the video of the city recap. That's saved to a cloud bucket. The IT guys know how to do that. I'm home, 10 minutes after the meeting, and I go, what was the council recap? And bam, the video plays that quick. You don't have to worry about it. So yeah, so that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to present. You all have the package, the PDF. I think Peggy sent that out. Cheaper to build than a mobile app. Easier to use and maintain than most websites that are out there. Easier for our citizens to search for and ask for information because it's just asking a question, right? No typing, you don't have to worry about anything. Last point on this, to kind of push this to you guys to ask more questions or maybe see it as a valid option for the city, is the disability factor. We know that there's about 25% of our population base here in Cibolo that receives some type of disability assistance. With Alexa, if we have a citizen that doesn't have use of their hands, they can't use a cell phone, right? You can ask Alexa. Vision impaired, you can ask Alexa. I will say, and this is going to sound funny, even audio impaired, because even though they won't hear the response from Alexa on your device, or even if you just have the little speaker with no screen, that text is given to you either back on your Alexa app or on your screen device that you have. So, a visually impaired person could read what they're querying about voice too. So, again, I'm not really sure how to wrap it up, but to say, I wanted to present this to say it is a solution to alleviate a little bit of the inbound calls to the city. One more way we can share information, with our population. We know that I'm 54, I'll be 55 this year, and from my kids who are in college to the last one in high school, they use voice on a daily basis, and we're going to see more of our smart homes, more of our builders are going to build this stuff right in. So I just think it's an easy lift for me to do as a technician, and something we can implement with IT here in a fairly easy, quick manner. So yeah, that's it. So thanks for the time to talk about it. Sorry I talked kind of quick, a little bit of nerves, but there you go.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, Councilman Roberts. I mean, I'm sorry, not Councilman Mahoney.
Mahoney.
Sorry.
My first name is Robert, so we get confused.
Okay.
You mentioned another city that somebody had posted saying they lived in somewhere else, and I'm always wondering, so that we're not feeling like we're reinventing the wheel, who does this? Who else does this kind of thing?
I've done one for San Antonio. They use it as a give kind of basis.
Okay,
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has one of the best ones.
The city of Tampa, Florida?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, like Dallas, Houston, some of our bigger cities. I'll get you a list. And then if you have a device, you can even go in and listen to them and see how they work.
And Councilman Mahoney, let me tell you how this came about. So Stasha and I have known Jody for a long time, and we had been talking about doing the Amazon Alexa app here in Cibolo. And recently, there was some homeowners in the Foxborough neighborhood over there off 1103, and they were asking if the city of Cibolo has Amazon Alexa skill, the capability in order for people to say, hey Alexa, what time's the city council meeting, or something like that. You know what I mean? So that way, it would be able to tell the homeowners exactly, what city information they need. And so that's why I contacted Jody and had him come up here and give us a presentation, something we've been meaning to do for a few years now. But just our schedules or just the timing, just things were kind of hit or miss. And so I feel like that now the time is right, because this technology has really been adopted a lot more within the past 2 years than I've ever heard of. I used to be anti having an Alexa or a Google Home in my house, because I was, I want some people listening, so, but since then, my wife's embraced it. We've got these devices in all of our rooms. She uses it as an intercom, basically, to tell our daughter, come down for dinner, things like that. So we use it all the time. And so I feel like that this could be a really valuable tool for us to get the word out, not just for people to ask Alexa questions about Cibolo, but for us also to push information out on a subscriber basis, where it's free to subscribe. Let's just say that Green Valley Road is closed due to flooding, over there near, between Dean and 1103. We could be able to push that information out to all of our subscribers to let them know that, certain roads are closed, or, any sort of emergency we had. When Snowvid was happening, the water is still not safe to drink, please boil your water, until further notice, things like that. So oftentimes there's emergency situations where it'd be great to be able to push that information out. And so I think that the sky's the limit, and we're about to go into budget season, and so this would probably be something that IT, Tracy's budget with IT, he could work with Jody and come up with a package for for us to consider. So, anyone else have any questions?
I do.
Kate?
What's the cost?
So
Like, are we talking 10,000? Are we talking hundreds of thousands?
Oh, no, 10 to 15, and then yearly is like probably 1,000, which would include hosting on AWS, a couple hours of support a month.
Okay.
Yeah, no, make it, I live here too.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's really hard to justify spending on something that is a nice to have when we have roads that
Yeah,
are in
exactly.
the condition that we have. So that's why it's like I don't even want to entertain it if it's
Yeah, not hundreds.
No,
expensive.
yeah.
So. And then are there any measurable outcomes that show the benefit of it? Can we measure how many?
I can actually get you some reports. So some of the ones like I've done for Project Management Institute, they've actually moved a lot of their first line of customer service now is Alexa. They have it on their website when people go report their continuing education units. That's the first stop. Just kind of like that automated thing you call your bank or something. She has become that first stop for them. So I'll get some more cities and share with you. So you can, like I said, if you don't have a device, I've got plenty. I can share one with you and you can try them out. And then I'll get you some metrics on when they were started at 0, and then number of users engaging per month, and then what they've seen as benefit from using it. Sorry.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. So as far as next steps go, if you could just work with Tracy, do you have contact information for Jody? If he could work with you, if that's okay, and then that way he could give you a detailed proposal and let you know all the information, and then kind of work with you and find out, maybe brainstorm between the two of you and come up with just a base set of services, and then we could something to consider within your IT budget. Okay. Okay. Very good. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. All right. So that's the direction of the staff. This isn't necessarily a one we're going to vote on, but we'll be hearing back from you in the future.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Okay. So we are going to skip on up to, or I'm sorry, on back to item number 8, executive session. The City Council will meet in executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to discuss the following. A, GVSUD versus City of Cibolo, CV number 116CV-00617-LY. B, possible negotiations regarding Southern Plant Wastewater Services and Funding Agreement by and among CCMA, City of Schertz, City of Cibolo. C, interpretation of code provisions regarding Buffalo Crossing 2. And D, discussion on hiring of an outside counsel regarding an ethics complaint. The time is now 8:53. We are going into executive session. No action taken. Moving on to 12F, discussion action concerning the good, better, and best option in the proposal from Quorum Architects related to the design work for the Cibolo Animal Shelter. Chief Huggins.
Good evening again. To keep this time constraint short, I'm just going to quickly introduce our architect firm. Quorum Architects is the firm we hired back in March to do the assessment for the animal shelter and give us some good, better, and best options. We promised you they would be back by June 13th, and by golly, here we are. So, I'm going to introduce Ms. Kimberly Dowdy Hickman, and she's going to go through her assessment.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us back, and we'll try to make this pretty quick. Do we have a remote? Are you still? So do y'all have a hard copy too, or are y'all looking at the big screen?
I can just look behind me. The screen's gone.
The big screen on the back? Well, while that's coming up, we'll go ahead and just get started and start running through this for you guys.
Okay.
Quorum was contracted with the Cibolo to do a needs assessment for the good, better, best options. We met with staff. We on multiple occasions to see what their current needs were, what's going on with their existing shelter, and what their visions were going forward. We evaluated the animal shelter there off of Cibolo Drive on just to see what. Is it just forward? There you go. So we were able to analyze the existing animal shelter to see where it is in today's standards in comparison to a modern-day animal shelter and adoption center. Because very few cities really run just an animal shelter. We were able to analyze the population growth from 2009 to today's numbers to all the way to 2030 and 2040. And what we could see is, numbers of population of citizens as well as animals has doubled since 2009 to today's, and then to 2030 has tripled, and then quadrupled when we get out to all the way to 2040. So the animal needs has really increased from the 12 dogs that this facility will hold, as well as 12 cats. We're seeing the dogs actually overtaking some of the cat areas. So I think they had maybe about 6 cages, at our time of our visit. So they all just vary. As Chief Huggins also talked about, the admin building, the approximately 170 square feet. It's a tiny portable building, cramming as many ACOs in there as you can. You can't even get the public in there. So if the public needs to go to the restroom and they're in a wheelchair, it's just not happening. So just different options there. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the conditions of the kennels. State regulations, state recommendations, these are just not meeting what needs to be done in today's world. You can't clean true separation of the animals, because in this one room, we're housing healthy animals, stray animals, sick animals, as well as the aggressive quarantine animals, to where you could have somebody, a visitor, to come in, stick their finger into one of the kennels and potentially be bitten. So it could be a very dangerous situation there. But still, too, with sick animals, nose-to-nose contact. You see there's actually corrugated tin separating these versus solid panels. So everything, fluids, everything is going from kennel to kennel within that. It's hard to clean, hard to disinfect, but here, just to prevent disease. Zero natural daylighting in the animal areas, and then in the cat areas too. Anybody can go in there and be exposed and touch every single cat, spreading disease from kennel to kennel. The actual location of the animal shelter is very difficult to find. I'm showing the arrows on here. So when you come down Cibolo Drive, once you get past basically the second arrow there, there's a sign there that states no unauthorized vehicles beyond this point. So if you're a citizen coming down, how do you find the facility? The actual animal shelter sign's up around the corner before you actually get to the Public Works Drive. And then you physically have to go through Public Works Drive, which is actually under construction now, to go all the way up to the animal shelter. So there is a little safety concern there too, with all the large trucks and everything coming and going. This is existing animal shelter. You see where the dogs are in that small area. Every dog does have indoor-outdoor runs, but again, they're mixed with healthy and healthy dogs as well as those that are potentially sick. All the cats are up in the front area, mixed with laundry, medical, food prep, all that type of area. So it's a highly stressed areas for the cats in there. And then the upper left-hand corner is that admin area, the small building, and then the play yards. There can be some meet and greet going on in the outdoor play yards as well as down south of the building. There is more play yards, but it was definitely not accessible to the public. If somebody was in a wheelchair needing to do a meet and greet, they would just have to do something up in the cat rooms with one of the dogs. The animal capacity needs, I broke this out to 2009 all the way to 2040. In 2009, like Chief Huggins said, we can house up to technically 12 cats, but when I was there, it's 6 to 10 cats and 12 dogs. Today's numbers, they need to have at least 26 cats and 16 dogs. If we look all the way out to 2040, we're going to 49 cats and 29 dogs. So you're seeing that we're definitely tripling numbers, some quadrupling over time. So for our first option is the good option. We're looking at what can we do with this current facility? How can we improve upon it? It's taken the existing kennel where the dogs are. Let's leave that where it's at, and let's increase the admin area. So in doing that, we'll also have 2 new kennel pods. The city of Georgetown has just recently added some portable kennels to their facility. So that's what we're going to show you next as some options to help increase the capacity without having to do much addition and more expense. The plan to your lower right-hand corner is your existing facility. You see the first square off of that to the left side. We're going to break that up to all cat rooms. So you're going to have separate adoption stray rooms versus your quarantine isolation. We're going to recommend more HVAC, so you have the proper air exchanges, so you can have healthier animals within that. And then it's going to have an outdoor area too for the catio, which all that will remain. The indoor kennel rooms would be a complete gut and come back and redo that to state standards. They are a little bit smaller than the state standards, but it's going to get you the best of what we could with this facility, the size that we're working with. But we're going to recommend all new finishes, new kennels, stainless steel kennels would be best within those areas, ceilings within that, and maybe some acoustical panel if the budget allows that, just to help the overall hearing of visitors coming through there as well as staff. All the way to the right, that was just an open canopy. We recommend coming into that with a food prep area, intake area, so the ACOs can bring the animals in safely and evaluate those and determine, do they need to go out to a stray hold building or stay within the quarantine ISO, which would be the existing building. The 2 buildings in the the top part of the site to the north side, one of those would be adoptions and one would be a stray hold for intake. This building is for the kennel buildings. This is what Georgetown is doing. They're just a temporary building to get them through state standards, to increase the capacity within the facility. This is also until they decide if they're going to merge with the county as well. So, a facility like this type of building, these are running about $180 constructed with the ramps to make them accessible at this time.
You said they're
180,000,
portable,
yes.
so they can move these buildings later? I
They
mean,
can. The overall quality of them, I don't think they're gonna take you too far down the road, but they are. They're gonna get you there as a temporary solution. So it's not gonna be like a Blaze CMU type facility with stainless steel kennels. These are gonna be more chain link with wood construction. Wood construction's just not gonna hold up, you know, beyond probably 10, 15 years. So just some things to think about here.
Have they ever looked at Connex boxes? And, I mean, I've seen them convert Connex boxes into homes.
Yes. So, I mean, that definitely could be done. There are a few animal shelters in the nation that have done it.
Okay,
We have not done it physically, but it definitely could be done. It would be about the same size
right.
as these, but.
Well, that's what I'm looking at, the size, wide, and width.
What's a Connex box?
Railroad.
Huge shipping containers.
Railroad car.
Well, no, what you see is, they got it wrong. They haul them on railroad cars, but they'll put, it's a shipping container, and they'll put wheels on the bottom of it and their truck, trailers.
Gotcha.
18
So
wheels.
with that too, keep in mind, it's all metal. You're having very corrosive chemicals in here too. So that is gonna eat away with it over time. So again, temporary solution, until you know, you can truly finish that out with the proper finishes. So it may be whether a tile finish or a, just a
I'm just saying with the wood, because you
masonry.
mentioned wood, and wood
Right.
will, real quick.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
that's why I'm like, because those are on shipping containers, they are out there at sea, they get the seawater, they get rainwater, they get storms.
Right. So yeah, we can definitely look at that option as well with
Using
here.
them.
But I would think that would be about the same cost overall, once you try to get one in and finish it out with kennels and everything there. Next option would be a better option. We're looking at taking pretty much all the admin and putting it under the same roof as the existing kennel. So basically, the same square footage is what we were gonna do there. You would have offices for the ACOs. So you'll have a meet and greet area within that. The public can actually come into the space and meet with a reception area. You'll have a break area, which staff is lacking right now. They're eating at their desks. You'll have a restroom within the same building, so if somebody's cleaning kennels or anything, they don't have to run next door to go to the restroom. And then the rest of the building, we're recommending doing exactly what we were on the desk. So this is just putting everything all up underneath the same roof, and it would be a new construction versus a portable building on that portion of it. The best option, take the whole building down and let's come in with a modern state-of-the-art type facility for this location. In doing that, you're gonna be down an animal shelter basically for 12 months of construction time, a minimum of 12 months construction time. We've had other facilities do something very similar to this with contracting work with other communities. That could be an option, but again, your ACOs are gonna have to travel further. Their response times are gonna be longer for picking up animals within these areas. Within this, it would be all metal construction, metal stud construction in combination with Blaze CMU or painted epoxy CMU, epoxy floors, and more high industrial type construction that's gonna hold out and take you more 30, 40, 50 years down the road versus a temporary solution. Within these options too, you're gonna see we're having a full circulation of a fire lane all the way around. Your existing animal shelter doesn't not even have fire lane capability. So trying to get a fire truck there if in case there was a fire would be very challenging. Now we can circulate all the way around on this building. I didn't show you on the other ones, but the good and the better, we have corrected those with a hammerhead connection, so you would have access to that. Around the building, we will have outdoor play yards that are directly adjacent to the building, so you're not having to walk down a hill to access that, as well as parking adjacent to the building and proper security for the ACO's trucks and for them to pull in and offload animals. This is the more of a modern day animal shelter. You'll see an upper left hand corner, it's going to be multi-user restrooms within the same roof, We do have a training facility within this for a meeting room, as well as training staff, but we can also open it up to train the public. You can have obedience classes, teach the kids and everybody how to raise those animals and take care of them properly. There'll be plenty of ACO space as well as manager's office. The area just to the right of the yellow space, all of that is the cat area. It's gonna be a nice quiet area separated from the dog barking, so it will be less stress for the cats. All the animals will have natural daylighting in every space, and you'll see better separation on all the dogs. You'll see where the kennels are, they're all indoor-outdoor runs, so dogs can come and go and get fresh air throughout the day, have natural daylighting, as well as have the proper spacing too, and separation between kennel to kennel, as well as kennel from room to room within that. Over on the right-hand side, we do have proper workspaces, commercial grade washer and dryers, food prep areas, laundry areas, as well as grooming areas within that. The large rectangular area where you see the drive-through, that's a sally port. ACOs will be able to come in and safely offload the animals, so you don't have to worry about anybody escaping or anything. You can take them straight into the shelter. And then off to the right is a medical area and a freezer vestibule area in case there are any euthanasia or anything that needs to be taken care of. It could happen on site as well. And then on each side of the kennel areas is where the get-to-know play yards are for the public to come in and do a little meet and greet. This is a one for the best. We were looking at options similar to a facility that we recently did in Pearland. So you can see the types of materials within this type, artificial turf, then indoor-outdoor kennels with acoustical panels, so it's definitely going to help on sound control within these spaces. And again, we just look for something that's light and bright, easy for staff to clean, and it's going to be very inviting for the public to come in.
You know, if Chairman Coleman is willing to throw some money our way again?
She passed away recently on this project, so that's recent. This one is named after her on here. So this one was recently just finished this last year. But there are many grant writers or many grants out there that are some things that Cibolo could take a look at as well.
Yeah,
So
just
for
hired
fundraising
one.
needs.
Yeah, we have a grant writer, so if you could provide that information to our
Yes.
city manager.
Yeah, because Reese Jones Foundation is a good one in Texas that I have seen donate up to $1 million towards some of our animal shelters. So they've done a big chunk of medical facilities.
That'd be great.
So, yeah. So that was the location there on Cibolo. Some of the problems with Cibolo is downtime during construction. What are you going to do with the animals? And there was an area in the back that we are taking up this entire site. The little triangular area in the back, that is all low-lying areas. It's going to have to be completely rebuilt.
Yeah.
So that's not in the original cost on here. So that's something that we're going to have to work closely with engineering on that to get it truly suitable to construct a building of this nature on top of that. So those are some of the cons about this site. The more I pushed on this, we asked, is there another site that we can evaluate? We looked at Schaefer Road, which is over there by the Cibolo Sports Complex. A lot of our facilities are at and near a sports complex. It turns into more of a destination place. So it's more inviting for the public. You're going to have higher traffic, increased adoption rates with the visitors and everybody coming by. So weekend, if there's tournaments going on, downtime, you'll be amazed at the number of
Not when only the
visitors.
YMCA can use it, it's no good.
Joel, one thing that I need to bring up is that we're running out of time to take action on this
Okay.
one, and then also G. And so, state law, after 10:30, we can't vote on anything.
Okay.
So, is there any more slides? or-
It's just the site, so you can see site plan.
Okay.
So you can see a lot of movement through here. This is more of your modern day facility. And then this one's gonna be a very modern animal shelter adoption center, public areas.
Doing it on paper instead of where it's at. Okay.
Exactly, on Schaefer.
And then you got the cost on each of those?
Yes, sir, we do. So basically for your good option, we're looking at about 2.2 million. Better option, closer to 2.5 million. So basically that's doing, patching what you've got there and doing increase with animal capacities to get you to where you need to be for at least 2030. Some of them may take to 2040.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do the best option, or on Cibolo Drive, that's
be the best on Cibolo Drive.
Mine too.
The only thing that I would like to see is right now the entrance goes through the Public Works parking lot. Is there any way to have a direct entrance onto Cibolo Drive?
We took a look at that and, this was done a survey.
We'd have to
You wanna
buy
speak on
the-
this?
Yeah, we did a survey, we had a survey crew go out there, take a look at it. We don't own enough property coming off of, Cibolo Drive.
Who owns it?
The US government, the post office.
Okay.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, we might be able to. Maybe.
Do they like cute dogs?
Can we pause this agenda item and then go to the next one and then come back to it? Okay, all right, so,
It's not action?
this is a discussion, basically. So I wanna pause this item and then go on up to G, so that we can go ahead and get this one taken care of. We're gonna move on to 12G, discussion action on an extension of the final plat for Buffalo Crossing 2 subdivision Knights Crossing until the June 27th, 2023 council meeting to give the developer additional time to evaluate potential amendments to the PIA that may be pertinent to the plat or plat or approval/disapproval of the final plat for Buffalo Crossing 2 subdivision Knights Crossing.
I make a motion to disapprove of a final plat for Buffalo Crossing 2 subdivision Knights Crossing.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. We'll start with Councilman Benson.
Aye.
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 Ayes have it, 6-0. Okay, thank you very much, Kelsey. Okay, well, now we'll jump back to F. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Okay, back to F, all right.
Okay.
So Katie, you were saying you like I'm right there with you.
I like the best. Going through the Public Works parking lot is a big barrier because it is confusing. If you're not sure the animal shelter's back there, it doesn't make sense to drive through a parking lot to go to a driveway to get to another parking lot. It's just confusing. The signage is terrible. It says, like you mentioned, no unauthorized vehicle beyond this point, but you have to go back. It's just a mess. So if we could figure out a way to get to,
Well,
I'll go to the post office. See if I can convince them.
Councilman Hetzel?
One other thing to consider, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go.
But maybe use the floor plan on the best option on Cibolo Drive at the location of Schaefer is also,
Yeah, Schaefer's great. We would just have to purchase the land.
we own the land.
We own the land.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's also $2 million more.
Well, if we use the floor plan from Cibolo Drive, best option,
And
there, we might be able to
It's
save some money.
designed over there too, so you have room to expand. Because
Okay.
right now on Cibolo Drive, there is no room for expansion.
Right.
And that would solve right also for the
So
folks that are
with
working
that, we
on it
could
now.
scale back to get if there is a set dollar amount that we need to target, we can
Yeah.
scale it back.
Well, I'd like to see it set under 7.
Yeah, I would like to just keep it at 6.1 million. I mean, if we could
Well-
just scale it back by 800K.
And didn't I hear you say that you're gonna, in the cost, if we stay at Cibolo Drive and go with Best, there's gonna be more cost because we're gonna have to build it
Absolutely,
up.
yes, for the engineering, to
So
bring in
it's-
the stone and everything
I
else.
say we
to
abandon
replace that.
Cibolo Drive.
Then I'm good with going
You wouldn't
with
have to
Schaefer.
shut down
I
the
just, that
And we wouldn't have to
8.1.
shut
Wouldn't
it
have to
down.
shut down the
Yeah.
shelter for you.
But I love the
Which
design.
will cost
Yeah.
us, cause they ain't gonna do it for free.
As well as too as detention pond. The
Yeah.
detention in front of that is gonna have to be increased as well. This is so early in design, we don't have civil engineers on board yet to do all the calculations to know how that's gonna have to be, so.
For
but
Schaefer
that-
or for Cibolo?
For Cibolo Drive, so that's gonna have to be both of those, taken
Okay.
into consideration.
Then I would like to see the Cibolo Drive design at Schaefer.
Yeah, I do too.
Well,
So basically, that square footage,
Yeah.
we can tweak.
okay.
What do
I
you say,
think
Randy?
I think that's logical, and it gives us room to grow too at the same time.
Absolutely.
And what do you think, Mr. Huggins?
Do you want me to
Is
switch
that-
back to a site plan so you could see?
Sure.
Switch back, there you go. So with that, you see the expansion off to the left, full circulation of the building. And if you go back one more, I believe is the overall. So you see in the lower corner, there is a residential area that is used by the park now. This could shift over if we need to have it in a different location. It's just the two other site locations are not the best.
Is the creek there on the east side of that?
Well, part of it's in the floodplain, yes.
The parking area,
Yeah,
parking
this is a
area
much
would have
better
to
location, Katie.
take into consideration that drainage.
And if the city would
Well,
ever be
I mean, the
interested
road
in
may
doing a
not,
dog park or
but
anything,
being
this would be a
central
great
to the
location
park,
too.
you know what I mean? YMCA. I mean, it's a good spot.
Well, and when we get back, the roads back to normal, there's gonna be, remember the hundreds of bicyclists that like to go that
Yeah.
way? And so one day they're gonna return, and that's more traffic that'll see.
Absolutely. We see it all the time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think this is a better location than the one we have now.
Absolutely.
Well, that way we keep this one open while we're building
That's
that one.
another consideration.
Yeah, exactly. That way we don't have to, shut down for a year.
And we don't have to have
Eventually, we
somebody,
could use the old animal shelter, the existing one, for public works.
yeah,
storage
for their
expansion
worker.
or
okay.
something.
Parking lot.
I don't know that they.
The parking lot where they have.
Yeah, you're right.
There you
Yeah,
go.
dude, this solves a ton of problems. All right, Katie, you wanna make a motion?
Do we make a motion? What do we?
Well, it says discussion action. Do
Just
you
give
want a motion
direction to
with
come
the,
back with this,
We're looking at direction to come back at the budget process.
Okay.
to come back with,
Good
that
on
smaller
Schaefer?
print on Schaefer.
Yeah.
Instead of
Was
the
that
$8
good on
million.
Schaefer?
Yeah, good on Schaefer. No, best on
Best
Schaefer.
on Schaefer.
Best on
I like-
Schaefer,
I
but
like-
with the design.
Smaller
Design.
I
Good
like
on
the
Schaefer.
wood on the design that we have for, I know this is preliminary, but it goes along with some of the buildings that we already have. Yes. And that's one thing that we,
Well, that's gonna be so
that's one
far
of my pet peeves,
away.
it's not really important, but I like consistency, where at least the buildings look like they should be.
It looks kinda like the YMCA, the same design.
Yeah,
Looks
so
cool.
we have like Fire Station 1, half of it's tan, half of it's gray. This doesn't really match the bright red annex that's across the street. Like, let's get some kind of consistency. I feel like that would kind of go with it. I know that is way down the road, but that, from the picture, it felt like it meshes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And that's
Okay.
all durable products too, with a hardy style.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to
Thank you,
12.
Mayor. Council.
Thank you.
12H, discussion action on proposed update to the city's development application and approval process. Kelsey. I don't know if we have time for an action, but it's 10:30 right now. We started it before 10:30. Okay.
For me, it's
All right, cool.
mostly direction is what I'm requesting, but
All right.
I will still go through this. Before you today is a proposed update to the development application and approval process. Here, thank you. Some of you may be familiar with Texas House Bill 3167. Sometimes this is referred to as the shot clock bill, which went into effect on September 1st of 2019. This bill, if you're not familiar with it, expands on previous legislation and requires cities to act on plats and plans within 30 calendar days of a filed application. Some of the things that changed with House Bill 3167 is that applications are considered automatically approved if a decision is not made within 30 calendar days. It does, or it can lead to a more compressed timeline to review plats for completeness before they're presented to P&Z and City Council, and staff is not able to make any new comments on applications after the initial review and comment period. One of the things, why is the city updating its UDC, is really just to help ensure compliance with the state's regulations regarding these approval timelines and to set predictability, to provide staff with sufficient notice to conduct appropriate completeness checks and also confer with the applicants before an item is presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission and then ultimately to the City Council. We did present these red lines to the Planning and Zoning Commission at their last meeting. We've also looked at a couple of other cities that have experienced some fast rates of growth, such as Georgetown and the city of Bulverde, and worked with our city attorney's office to provide this proposed process update. So you have the red lines within your packet. I'm going to highlight just some of the major changes to it. So revisions to Article 20 of the subdivision regulations. One of the first things is that it's clarification that these informational consultation meetings that we have, or what we call pre-development meetings, do not in and of themselves constitute an application or approval of an application. They're not mandatory. These are things that we offer to try to help individuals or businesses or developers out ahead of time to get feedback from staff before they've submitted an official application. The requirement for internal letters of certification is removed. There is still, we will still be receiving letters of certification from utility providers or any of our third-party entities to make sure that they're in the loop and are also signing off on these applications. And we do require those as part of a completed application. Within this is also the definition of filed is considered to be after staff reviews for administrative completeness and does find that it's complete.
What we'll be doing is staff will be establishing an administrative completeness conference at least one day per month. That's within the 30-day window of the next anticipated planning and zoning meeting. Applicants will schedule an appointment for this administrative completeness conference with the planning department. During this meeting, staff will conduct a thorough review of that application. If all the items are submitted, staff endorses it, and then we'll continue to consider it to be filed and start that 30-day process. If it is deemed incomplete, it will not be endorsed and it will not be considered filed. The applicant will be notified in writing what is missing and would need to submit on the next calendar date for the next meeting.
So, according to that, what you're saying is, we're gonna set aside one date every month.
Yes,
that
sir.
if people wanna apply, they have to apply that date. They can't come in 2 days later and apply. It's
Correct.
that date. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. That's, I just wanted
Yes,
to clarify.
absolutely. Yep, you've interpreted that exactly on point. And then submittal dates for appeals, because we do have a requirement that those be addressed within 15 days of the next anticipated meeting. So we would have a set date on the calendar within 15 days of a meeting for an appeal. If council approves of this process, this is the direction that we're looking. We will continue to work with the city attorney's office on a final UDC amendment that would reflect the change. Also, if there is anything last minute that pops up with the legislature that might need to be incorporated, we can definitely account for that. And then our plan would be to hold public hearings at both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council, with the final action being taken by City Council. And that's it.
Any questions?
I just have a point of clarity.
Yes.
It's late, I've gotta be somewhere, but I need somebody to run to ground for me. It doesn't have to be tonight. I got an email in my box that contradicts 20.3.1 and what you've written, not even in the red part, but mostly in the black. And I think tonight we saw an example of where a good quality pre-development meeting months ago would have saved a lot of hate and discontent. And I think, you know, it says that's what we do, and I'm not sure I'm seeing that on this end of the discussion. So I would like to know from maybe Mr. Reed what 20.3.1 means to him, and then flesh that out as to how we're actually doing that, because I'm not seeing the end product as a productive measure here on nights like tonight. So,
Mr. Benson, are you referring to a previous pre-submittal meeting that you and I watched the video of?
well, there's those. I've got an email from you this week stating that, well, I'm not gonna say what it states, but look back to some conversation we've had about this other issue tonight, and what you said doesn't jive here. So I need to understand what you think this means, because it's in our UDC, and I'm just reading English, and I'm saying, hey, it says here that city staff may make some suggestions. I think we missed a really good opportunity to make some suggestions that we're now months down the path and a lot of angst over.
And a lot of money spent.
And a lot of money spent where more simple things could have been done. And so if we are gonna hold ourselves to that standard of these pre-development informal consultations, then they really should be meaningful and not just something that we say and then not do. So I just need to understand that process better.
Yes, we can make a presentation on pre-development application meetings, the way that they were held in the past and the way that they're being held now. And we can make that a presentation when we meet.
Is that all? No questions? Thank you very much, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Oh, one other real quick thing. This this 1 day a week is gonna be all right with state law?
Yes. It's not been challenged by other cities yet.
Okay. I have a feeling it will be.
Okay. Next up, well, I think it's a little, you know, it's crazy that they want to get those done in one. I mean, how do you do anything in one month?
Well, especially smaller cities like Selma that have one council meeting once a month.
Right. It's unreasonable. All right, next up is I, discussion direction on updates to the council strategic plan, financial year 23 through 25, setting the stage for fiscal year 24, 26.
That's that one he's getting used out.
Mayor, I might bold. You good? I don't think there's anything
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Given the hour, I will walk through this faster than I otherwise would have planned on, but let me start by saying I'm proud of the council's work to approve its strategic plan FY23 last September. I'm equally impressed with all the involved staff and departments to begin to make it a part of how we all do business. There are several benefits to creating, managing, and updating a strategic plan. First, it provides clear guidance on the goals of the city council to the city manager. Two, it's used as a communication tool to the staff. What is council wanting to create? What direction are they taking the organization? Equally to other agencies and to the public. It communicates to employees that what they do is important and that it has a purpose. It helps city council and the city manager to prioritize the work in the organization and the limited financial and human resources available during the budget process. And lastly, it does assist council navigating decisions, including controversial ones that are otherwise difficult to resolve. There we go. So my feedback tonight is, does council support splitting the governance strategy into two strategies, financial integrity and operational excellence? Again, I'm going to go through this quickly. Your current strategic plan, and this is your overview of the presentation. This is your current strategic plan, broken down into your initiatives, your goals, your actions, and FY23. At the very bottom, we said we would address 31 economic development goals and actions, and you can read across from left to right under each one of those categories. And this presentation shows you where are we just 8 months after you adopted the plan, approved the plan. Great pictures. You are all engaged and very engaged and productive in your strategic management workshop in March. And you could see that I heard feedback on plus deltas. One plus was you liked how the executive team was present and presenting on some of the topics. And you thought next year, let's do a deeper dive with that. And that's something that we will do. You went through your purpose statement again and what is our problem, which you worked on your SWOT and you defined that a little bit more here, and forward thinking. So what does the future look like without that problem? You completed and updated your SWOT analysis. So let me talk about the 5 strategies and where are we? So in this year, we said we would address 36 actions. And as you can see, we've made progress on 12. Some goals have been started but not completed. They will be completed, but those have been underway. 5 we've not started. So why have we not started them? What's the plan to start and complete them? You can see on this slide right here, and I won't go through each and every one. You have the PowerPoint. We have an intentional plan of working through each and every one of those. So the very first one was construct the public safety facility. Well, construction is based upon the design that you've authorized us to go out and do, so we are moving forward with the design. You can tell on the last one, ensure this is part of the future Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Our action is completed when the above item is completed, which is complete during the budget workshop on providing council an opportunity to set specific expectations during the budget process. And that relates back to our pond around the HEB open space. So we have an intentional plan addressing those 5 actions. Under infrastructure, you set 22 actions, and we have made progress on 5 of them. We have completed 11 of them, and on 6 we've not started. So what are we doing on those 6? This slide shows you what we're doing on those 6. For example, update the UDC. The intention is the comprehensive update after the comprehensive plan is completed in FY24. So you all know that you should be looking at a comprehensive plan to adopt in February or March of 2024. If you were to put money in the FY24 budget for the UDC update, we would begin that upon completion of the comprehensive plan update. Under partnerships and relationships, we had 42 actions. We've completed, or they're ongoing activities for 34. We have completed, or we've started but not completed 4, and there are 4 goals that are still to be started, and we've identified them here. One was to schedule standing meetings with state officials. So what we said here is staff is working on setting up an initial meeting with our state representatives. Staff will contact them now that the legislative session is ended, at least the regular one. There will be a special session, I'm sure. And it's recognizing that as a special session, it may limit their availability. Under quality of life, number of goals, actions are 30. We've started on, completed 12, and we've started but not completed 9. That leaves 9. So where are we at with those 9? I'm just picking the purchase of the land under 4.2.4. It's the second to the bottom. It says evaluate park impact fees for park dedication fee changed to developer, charged to developer in lieu of parkland dedication. Will require funding for impact fee study. So as part of the budget process, if you want to look at our parkland dedication, park development fees, we would fund that through our parkland dedication fund so that we can look, is the right amount for parkland dedication the right amount based upon the dedication formula? Is the development cost for parks, has that gone up? I think we would all say our
Yes.
costs have gone up, developers' costs have gone up. So we would put that forth in the FY24 budget process. And last but not least, governance. You had 54 actions. We have completed 39, or they're ongoing, meaning we will do them each and every year. We have started but not completed 6, and we have not started 9. What are we doing with those 9? This slide talks about that right there. So I'm going through these quickly. You can stop me or follow up with me afterwards. The one that I like here is the, I like them all, but update the pavement management plan report from June 2019. And so a funding request for FY24 will be made during the budget process. So what we would do is we would tell you what would the cost be to update our pavement management plan, and that tells us what the pavement condition is for our streets.
I don't think there's been enough roads that have been fixed since then to even make a damn bit of difference.
But a lot has gotten worse.
Yeah, I know, but we know that. Of course, it's not getting better.
No, my street was fine when they did the study in 2019. Now it is horrendous.
So
The road conditions because of the drought they've gotten tremendously
Yeah, so we can just assume that every road's worse, is what I would do.
But they're not getting worse at the same rate.
And this
I
is,
don't know.
this is for
Spend-
council.
I'd rather spend the money fixing the roads than studying the roads again. You know what I mean? We have,
But we need to prioritize the roads that need to be fixed.
That's true.
This is just one of those actions that you identified with the help, the support of staff during your first approved strategic plan. When we bring these back to you, your direction can be proceed. Your direction can be, let's hold off for a year. So I'm just pointing out to you, we have a plan to complete all of these actions. So you have in the current strategic plan 5 strategies. Now I would like to explain the proposed changes to the strategic plan. I'll start with the core strategies and then explain format changes to the action matrix. So here's the change. We looked at the governance goals and actions, and it really comes down to 2 categories that I think are better described by saying financial integrity and operational excellence. I'm proposing that you change governance to these 2. So here's what we found under governance. You can see here that some of the existing goals under governance relate to how we manage the city's finances, while other goals speak to how we do business and what we want to accomplish. For instance, 5.4.6 says revamp building inspections department. That's how we do business. 5.4.3 is rapid implementation of bond issues before further inflation. And that, to me, goes to also financial integrity. So we believe that we can separate all the goals and actions into these 2 new categories. We also think that we can improve the action plan matrix. Right now, it is organized in a column format. The new format would be cleaner for the user to read and understand, just for the general public listening. First, there are strategic initiatives, goals, action steps, and then a matrix that talks about who's the owner and in what year should it start and or end. Problems with the current format is duplicate goals that appear in other areas. These are examples. And we tied them together. We spent the time to say, well, this goal is the same as this goal. We can simplify that. Some action steps could be deleted or combined for better clarification. And here we have an example of that, where you have 5.1.3 and 1.4.3, where the action step can be deleted as this action is already identified elsewhere. So that action, the yellow box on top, is really the same as the one on the bottom. So we'd like to remove those kind of redundant components. Proposed enhancements to the actual matrix itself. What I'm talking about here is just formatting. The change is subtle, but the result creates an easier to use and read matrix. It is changing from a column orientation to a row orientation. Lastly, the new format provides an enhanced legend on the project status. So you can see how we convert from the current one to the new one. And then why these improvements? It addresses duplicate goals. It addresses duplicate goals and action steps in the current action matrix. It streamlines similar goals and action steps into one deliverable. It provides a running fiscal year progress tracker for each deliverable to quickly understand staff's progress. Most importantly, it provides our customers with an easy-to-read action plan matrix that clearly communicates council's goals for the current and upcoming fiscal years without inundating the reader with less important information. And then implementing, I'm going to have Peggy hand an item out that because of time we're not going to go into, but I just want you to understand operational excellence and what I meant by those bullet points. So I'm excited by the progress council and staff have made over a short 8 to 9 months since council approved its first strategic plan on September 13th, 2022, as reflected here tonight, as I've covered with you. On this slide, I want to share how each department has also created the first business plans that incorporates council's goals and actions. We are changing the way that we do business as executive staff and as departments and as a city as a whole. We review the progress and roadblocks during the quarterly performance management program meetings. And on this slide, here you can see an example from the Economic Development Department. In the quarterly PMP meetings, each department head and or his or her staff update the CMO by describing the work associated with the action that they've been assigned. Who is it assigned to, what resources are necessary, and how we start and end for the target dates of that particular action. So that's not in your strategic plan. We dive deeper as a way that we are doing business. And in closing on talking about this update is one way to show how the city staff and team are focused on council's strategies and goals. It reinforces our intentional journey to becoming a high-performing organization. This journey does require city council to be owners of its vision and your strategic plan, for you to use this tool to set a path for our future so that we can manage those resources in the best way possible to drive the outcomes that you keep talking about each and every meeting that we have. In our journey right here, you can see how we have incrementally been improving and walking down this journey. Oops. And then I'm going to close with saying you have a handout, 9 principles to organizational excellence. I did not create these. The source is a footer on the page. I love each and every one of these, and these are principles that I think we're working on each and every day. I read the commitment to excellence, develop leaders to develop people, be accountable, and recognize and reward success. They're all great, all 9 of them, but if I had more time, I was going to spend time just talking about those 4. You have that same handout as I have. Thank you, council. I'm just asking for your support in splitting the governance strategy into 2 strategies, as well as changing the matrix. Feedback?
Fine with me?
Good idea.
Okay. And then in your budget workshop, we're gonna be bringing to you items like we discussed here, that pavement management index, things that you've identified, and you're gonna need to give us direction. Do we wanna further explore that in '24 or push it off to another year? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reed. All right, next up is 12J. Discussion, direction to staff on a traffic signal potential study at Old Weiderstein and Cibolo Valley Drive, as well as Cibolo Valley Drive and Rips Chrysler. Councilman Benson.
Yeah, as much as I love sitting in traffic, it really makes no sense at 5:30 in the morning, be sitting in traffic at Cibolo Valley Drive and there's no one coming on the other intersection. We're 2 years into this. It's insanity. 12, 15 cars stacked up on Cibolo Valley Drive watching ghosts go by on Old Weiderstein. That light should never turn red unless there's somebody turning left, coming south onto Old Weiderstein, or left on south onto Cibolo Valley Drive. It's just pure insanity. And it's about a 2.5 minute light, and you just sit there at 5:30 in the morning trying to get to work. It literally makes no sense.
So don't those have the laser that can check?
I don't know what it has, but I'd like it just be flashing yellow and red until 6:30. I don't care. I just don't, it just cannot be stopping traffic like this.
I think I was talking to you, Mr. Foos, about how those lights are owned by Shirts.
They're not owned by Shirts, they're owned by us.
Okay. Oh, it was you I was talking to, okay.
I've been down this path. I
That
know who
box
owns
is
them.
inside the city limits of Cibolo. The majority of the light is too.
Okay. So, do we not have the capability for the lasers?
I have no idea what we have the capability for, but it needs to get stopped. It's just insane.
Yeah.
So the light at that intersection is basically run by camera demand. We have the camera demand.
Hand him your mic, TG.
I agree, but the light at that intersection, as well as the one at Rips Chrysler, are basically using a VIDX, VIDX system. It's a camera system that detects vehicles in the intersection. We checked the light today, and the cameras are all working as they're supposed to. We have determined that there is a problem with one of the pedestrian crossing buttons, which is triggering the light to go into request for pedestrian crossing. That's why the light is switching to a red when there's nothing there. We have a technician that's supposed to be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. to go. Because it's a long drive from Round Rock, Texas. He will be. We.
So when is my stop time, that I can actually get to work without waiting 2 minutes and enjoying the scenery of Old Weiderstein and Cibolo Valley Drive?
We will either cure what's wrong tomorrow, or we will deactivate what's wrong tomorrow, so it does not trigger for a false pedestrian request.
All right. Moving on, 12J, discussion of legacy landowners and building on their properties. Councilman Hicks.
I think we've already discussed this some tonight, and I think we've given direction. The council, what we need to do here, changing our UDC, allowing these people to go back to ag. You know, look into this, because the ordinance 1362, whatever it is, 1362, wasn't meant to punish the legacy landowners, and that's exactly what it's doing, is punishing them. So, we've already given direction. We don't need to stay here any longer. Hopefully we'll get that fixed.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, moving on, 12L, discussion of baseball and softball fields for youth to have a place to practice and play games, and the ability to make reservations for the fields. Councilman Hicks.
Bring this up. Obviously, we had a team come up tonight. I sat down and spoke with them. Not only that, I've spoke to individuals that have gone over to the sports complex. Nobody's out there. It's fields that we as citizens paid for, and they got kicked off that field. And the next time they go up there, they have a sign up that says you got to pay to play on that field. That's so wrong in so many ways. If it's not being occupied, we shouldn't be throwing our citizens off the fields. And we need to, and I've got a request to find out on these reservations. I still haven't gotten that information yet. Hopefully I'll get it within the next 2 or 3 days. But the only fields that I've known that we were reserving because of the lights was Nimitz Park. Now all of a sudden we're taking reservations for Al Rich Park. I'd like some information to show me that when and how long we've been taking money to reserve Al Rich Park. I've always thought that, you know, the majority of the parks around here are first come, first served, unless you go to the city, and I know, I've been told now that they have to go online to reserve it. But for our citizens not to be able to use these fields, or somebody's come in and say, I've got authorization to use it. Well, show me the paperwork. That's what I want to see. But we've got to stop this. I mean, we talk about quality of life in this presentation he just gave us, guys. We've talked about it in our plan. We've got to do something to get these fields, get fields for our kids to play on.
Yeah, because earlier you brought up, you know, when the coach and the dad were here earlier, and they were talking about the situation with the ball fields underneath the water tower, where, you know, you mentioned that we do the maintenance.
We do the maintenance.
So what benefit is there to us to even have a partnership with YMCA on those specific fields? If we're the ones doing all the maintenance, we're the ones who paid for the fields to be built and to begin with.
Yes.
What benefit is this? Because, you know, if YMCA was doing ongoing maintenance,
Well, I understand.
then I
We
can
got a
understand
contract.
there being a benefit, you know, to have them as a partner. However, what are they bringing to the table to this partnership?
Well, and
Other than
then we were
collecting the
told,
money.
then we were told that it's a fee to be able to utilize it. And then they have to become members to be able to utilize it.
Right.
And that's ridiculous. That's got to come off the table.
No,
I mean,
I agree. So what would it take for us to try to terminate that contract? Not the entire YMCA contract for the facility, but let's just say we were to terminate that contract that surrounds the ball fields, just those baseball fields, you know, or softball field, whatever. Can we look at what it would take to terminate that contract early? Because we're stuck in a 20-year contract with them. We're about 4 years into it, or something like that.
And we've got citizens that are property owners here paying taxes, which are paying the bonds.
Yeah, let's try to get out of that contract. You know what I mean? There's no advantage whatsoever for us to be in that contract with YMCA.
And so right now, the YMCA pays us for the maintenance we're doing on those fields. And so we're reimbursed for the time our staff and our equipment's used on it. Secondly, I emailed the YMCA during the meeting after the public comment, and I have a statement here that we do not require field renters to be Y members. So I have that as a confirmation. But if you want us to talk to the YMCA about are they willing to give up the oversight and the reservation of those fields and allow the city to take that over, staff will do that.
Well, it's not so much that. If they're reserving, because I saw them out there last week and they had tournaments going on the field, so obviously somebody rented them.
Right.
But whenever there's nobody out there, there's not one single soul, and a resident comes out there and says, hey, let's go over to the sports complex. They go over there, they go to the sports complex, they're playing kickball, or they're playing wiffle ball, or they're playing some type of sport out there on the field, utilizing that field. Did we not talk about this with the MEC? We talked about it. We've got a field out here that's not getting used. I'd much rather have that field being used by our citizens than sitting there vacant. What good does it do for us to have quality of life stuff here, say we're going to do it, and then we sit there and it sits vacant? And I'm sick to death of this, you know, that, well, we've got this contract, we've got that. We've got to take care of our citizens. I'm sorry. We need to take care of the citizens. And
Any other
that's,
comments on this one?
I think-
totally agree.
Y'all agree?
I think you said it.
Yeah, my complaint last time was is that we're paying the bond issue, and to go to the Y, we gotta pay them. So we're actually double paying as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with, you know, them controlling that building we built, but other than that,
We built it, that's the key right there, and they still require us. They come up extra with fees.
but to throw signs up saying you gotta pay and there's nobody out there.
Yes, exactly.
see if that,
Be careful.
okay, so we're good on that one?
My direction is to speak to the Y about us taking over the reservation of the fields. And if we take over the reservation of the fields, we'll also remove the sign saying, only use it if it's reserved.
That's not just the why though. I mean,
Correct.
the why is one thing, but we've got to make sure that, and I've requested that information. I know that you
Yep.
said that I'd get it.
Yep.
And I'm still waiting on, but I'd like to know when we started reserving Owl Ridge Park of all parks.
Sure.
But that's something else. We just had a presentation last council meeting about how dilapidated our parks are. I've got a problem with that, and maybe we need to look at it when we go to our budget.
Yes, sir.
And discuss this, but we've got to get our parks up to a certain standard, to where everybody can use it safely.
Okay. Moving on to M, discussion from council members that have attended seminars, events, or meetings.
It's too late, I'm not even gonna say it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I do want to thank Cibolo staff and the Parks Committee. Cibolo Summer Nights was really, really great.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
flowed really well, doing the fishing by heats and then awarding it immediately helped not have to track down kids. They were there and eager and they knew that they'd get their trophy. That was really great. It was very well run.
This is our most successful year.
Yeah.
As far as attendance. Okay. Next up is N, discussion on items the city council would like to see on future agendas. And Peggy, if we can put that one about the GVSUD subcommittee back on there, please, for the next meeting.
And also the proclamation.
And appointments.
Yeah. What's your proclamation, Peggy?
Chuck Blackwell.
Oh, yes.
The former mayor.
And is there any way we could possibly do a treat, Peggy?
A what?
A treat,
A
Mhm.
tree?
like we
in
did
his
for
name?
Joel's father?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And
He
then
was the mayor
appointments
for 14
for the
years.
next one.
Sam Ballard. He was our mayor for what, 11 years, 14 years?
40.
From
There's
87
something
to
else
2001.
that, Councilwoman Sanchez wanted me to mention, but
On the appointments that you want on the next agenda, there's a few people that need to be reappointed to the committees. Do we need?
Well, I don't think they need to be here in person, unless there's somebody who went MIA on us, you know what I mean? But if there's somebody who regularly attends, we can just reappoint them, you know. Would y'all agree?
I agree.
We need to pull somebody out of the house for what? Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have any items for the agendas? Next agenda?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right, moving on to O, discussion action on the review and confirmation of all upcoming special meetings and workshops and scheduling the time, date, and place of additional special meetings or workshops. Peggy? We're good. Okay. All right, item number 13. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.